But I want to start on a good note, which is how to handle the outrage mob. You don't see it almost anywhere, whether it be corporate America or individual creators or whatever you want to call them, people, athletes, entertainers. No one seems to know how to handle the outrage mob, but leave it up to Domino's Pizza. You know, questionable ingredients, questionable pizzas, Papa John. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not saying they got the greatest pizza in the world, especially if you're Italian or from the East Coast. You know, you're very competitive with your pizza, and, you know, they're not the best. Might be the cheapest. However, they perfectly handled the outrage mob and laid out how to deal with the outrage mob. So Rick Wilson, who is some unhinged, phony GOP strategist, like PSYOP guy. I don't even know who this guy is. He creeps me out. Certain people, they just got that look to them where you're just like, nah. You know, that's how I feel about this guy. But he found a 2000. This is how weird these people are. It's crazy. It's so nuts. He found a tweet from Domino's from 2012, guys, 8 years ago, and they were thanking Kayleigh McEnany, who's the blonde press secretary who Trump hired, who's pretty good. They said, thanks, that was one heck of a compliment. Thanks for the love. We appreciate it. So Kayleigh complimented them, and they said, thank you. Literally, could not get more basic, like, American kindness. I mean, regardless of, even if it's your least favorite person, if they, like, say something nice, it's just a, you know, I was raised to say thank you and be respectful. I don't know. They just literally said thank you to Kayleigh McEnany 10 years ago, 8 years ago. And Rick Wilson retweeted and said, you just killed your brand, ETTD, which I don't know what that even means. And then Domino's responded flawlessly. They said, welp, it's unfortunate that thanking a customer for a compliment back in 2012 would be viewed as political. Guess that's 2020 for you. Congratulations, Domino's. I don't want to eat your disgusting food, but I might order wings later just because. Well done, Domino's. That's how you do it. You will get promoted. You will get loved. You will raise probably your sales. If you cave to the outrage mob, I'm going to teach you with this next one. You can't win. The outrage mob will never like you. You'll never do enough. And the people who are actually good people are going to turn against you if you cave to them, especially if it's just phony and disingenuous. So congratulations, Domino's. Not a phrase I thought I was going to say today. On that note, before we get into, let's get into the Google thing because it's pretty quick. I got like 5 stories. So Google, apparently, there were reports that they were messing with Zero Hedge, who's a more right-leaning organization, but I would say a deep-diving organization. Then you got the Federalist, who's right-wing, and they were having reports of getting demonetized and targeted by Google, and then all this stuff came out. It's not true, you know, so I don't know what to believe. I always, you know, I slow my road because everyone's saying so much stuff, and you're just, you know, sitting on your computer like, who do I believe? You know what? There's so many headlines, so many opinions, everyone's yelling at each other. And then Google came out from Google Communications, which is their verified Twitter account for communications, and they said, our policies do not allow ads to run against dangerous or derogatory content, which includes comments on sites, and we offer guidance and best practices to publishers on how to comply. So I guess it wasn't even for videos. I guess it was on their websites. They cut the advertisement for Google ads on their websites because they had derogatory comments. So this is what they consider eligible to demonetize. Now, they've already gone way too far. They already lie. They already stretch the goalpost. Their goalpost is the entire country. Every word, every city, they have unlimited ways to shut you down. But now they're saying they won't run ads on websites that the comments on the website bother them, which opens the door to anything. I mean, you could go, I'm not saying to do it, but if you don't like Fox News, you could just go to Fox News and leave some bad comments on an anonymous account, and apparently they could take their ads down. If you don't like CNN, you could do it. If you don't like, you know, Breitbart or Daily Wire, I'm not saying to do that, obviously, but I mean, it's just common sense. Foreign countries could do it. They could go to all of our best news organizations and say, let's leave bad comments. So then Google, I mean, these people are just so dumb or fake or dishonest. I like the word, and I'm going to start using it more often, wicked. These are wicked people. These are, you know, I don't want to say evil, but it's like at a certain point, who are you kidding? What are you doing? I mean, these guys got, you know, probably 100 PhDs in the room, and then they come to a consensus that they should ban advertisements on websites that have derogatory comments in the comment section that they can't control, possibly. It's just pathetic. I mean, Google is just maybe one of the worst. They just won't stop. They're gung-ho on just going full communist. And I don't say that often or loosely, but it's like, at what point will these people stop? On that note, apparently it's not by wearing a shirt that you like. That's not going to work. So Coach Mike Gundy of, I think, Oklahoma State University wore a One American News Network shirt. One American News Network shirt. Of course, that's fine to do, but someone called him out on Twitter. We're like, look, he's wearing a One America News shirt. This guy's got to go, because that's what these people do. They don't realize they're doing it, or they do, but they're becoming very communist in the sense of, we need 100% control, and we're going to destroy, demonize, or attack anybody who disagrees with us. They have almost the whole television, guys. ESPN is owned by Disney. Fox just sold a huge stake, not the news corporation, but the other Fox stuff, sold a huge corporation to other big corporations, CBS, ABC, NBC, MSNBC. You know, what news network don't they have? Half of Fox News is still somewhat decent, so they try to get rid of Tucker Carlson. One American News Network is conservative, so they try to get rid. It's like they need 100% control. They have everything, but it's never enough. They're like, let's target the guy who wore the shirt of what 2% of the media is. Guys, you are 90%. You guys are 98% of the media. Why don't people treat you like that? You're the ones doing all the bad stuff. You're the ones controlling everything. God forbid somebody is there that doesn't like march to your tune. They freak out and try to destroy them. So here's the apology. I'm just going to play it so you can listen audio. I haven't listened to the full thing. To be honest, I called him a mean word. I called him the P word, P-U-S. I'm not going to finish it, but it's like, bro, come on, dude. You're a grown, tough man playing football, and this is it's just annoying. I'm tired of these people. I'm putting a little fire to the feet a little bit. Here's Mike Gundy apologizing for wearing a One American News Network shirt.
I had a great meeting with our team today. Our players expressed their feelings as individuals and as team members. They helped me see through their eyes how the T-shirt affected their hearts.
Hold on. They helped me see. Can I make fun of? I guess since he's white and the media hates white people, I can make fun of him. But I don't. I love everybody. I make fun of everybody. But it's like if I make fun of like a black woman's accent or something, they'll be like, "Oh my God, Anomaly hates women." I'm like, you know, if I make fun of somebody's Asian accent, they'll be, "Oh my God, that's racist." But I guess because he's a white Southerner, I can make fun of him. Hold on, I gotta run that back. I'm not saying it's okay. Obviously, I love white people. I'm just saying.
As individuals and as team members, they helped me see through their eyes how the T-shirt affected their hearts.
They helped me
They
helped me see through their eyes how the T-shirt affected their hearts. Guys, half these players are probably going to get brain damage because, you know, they're out there smacking each other like 250-pound pure man of muscle, smacking each other in the head for 10 years, you know? Like half of them can't even think straight, and he's like, I see how my T-shirt hurt their hearts. Maybe they're too soft then, Coach Gundy. Maybe you got to cut them. Because if a T-shirt hurts their hearts, how are they going to take a 6'5" linebacker? You know, how are they going to take I haven't even watched football long enough to know who's playing linebacker anymore. Every reference I was going to make was going to be from like 1995. So, I mean, a T-shirt hurts their hearts, bro? Come on, this is pathetic. This is why I called him a PUS word on Twitter. I'm sorry, bro, but it's like, it's just like peak level cowardice. All right.
As team members, they helped me see through their eyes how the T-shirt affected their hearts. Once I learned how that network felt about Black Lives Matter, I was disgusted and knew it was completely unacceptable to me. I want to apologize to all members of our team, former players, and their families for the pain and discomfort that has been caused over the last 2 days. Black Lives matter to me. Our players matter to me. These meetings with our team have been eye-opening and will result in positive changes for Oklahoma State football. I sincerely hope the Oklahoma State family, near and far, will accept my humble apology as we move forward.
Imagine being a conservative player on one of these teams, just like having to keep your mouth shut because everybody's like categorically insane. So he had a meeting with his team members, most of which are probably brainwashed by rap culture, mass media, and celebrities. And they told him that, you know, he's a bad person for wearing a shirt because of what they said about Black Lives Matter. We're gonna play it in a second. I'm gonna show you exactly what she said and what they're mad about. But I want to read real quick. I'm not going to repeat it correctly, so I'm going to find it. It's a tweet I had the other day. This is like genius level branding from the Democrats. Obviously, Black Lives Matter. Let me tell you, it's like, it's just so corny. Like, do you guys not understand? I have, you know, millions of people following and supporting me. I have hundreds of thousands of people who are Black, Hispanic. Like, yeah, I like everybody that I like. People that I don't like, I don't like. I don't have to tell you every day, I love Black people. So, yeah, like, people know I like them. You know, if you're a decent person, I like you. If you're annoying, you're annoying. You know, it transcends race, religion, and gender. So it's like the virtue signal is just like, they matter to me. We know, dude. We get it. You're a good guy. I'm sure you love your team. You don't notice that, you know, 90% of them, 80% of them are probably Black, and you probably treat them just like your kids. You're probably a fantastic guy. But it's like, you don't have to I swear, I just love my team. We know, dude. You want to keep your job. You want to make money. You don't want to be torn down for wearing a shirt. Here's the tweet I had. I said, just because your product is called Apple computers, just because your product is called Apple, it doesn't mean it has anything to do with apples. Just because your product is called grape soda doesn't mean there are real grapes in it. Before I continue, I didn't realize how good grapes were. Grapes, I mean, grape candy's okay too, but grape soda and candy doesn't really taste like grapes, you know, and not even remotely. And it's all artificial flavoring. But anyway, just because your product's called Apple doesn't mean it's an apple. Just because your product's called grape soda doesn't mean it has any grapes in it. Calling a movement Black Lives Matter, then ignoring 99.99% of Black lives is evil genius. Yes, Black Lives Matter, but that doesn't mean that the group that named themselves and probably branded Black Lives Matter cares about all Black lives. I could prove that they don't. I'm going to play the clip that you know, Liz Wheeler said, but just because they name themselves, I could name myself, you know, human beings are the best. And then like anyone that disagrees with me, it's like, oh, you hate humans? Oh, you hate Africans? I knew you hated Asians. I knew you hated Mexicans. You're like, what do you mean? I don't hate Mexicans. You're like, no. My group, I branded the name, All Humans Matter, or humans are the best. And you don't like me? You don't like who I make money for? You don't like that I'm voting for Joe Biden? Oh, you must hate people from Bolivia. Like, it's like so childish. I don't understand why people keep caving to it. But he's like, I realized my t-shirt hurt their hearts, and now that they're all brainwashed by Democratic media, I've decided to just completely cave and never ever say what I feel again. It's like, dude, just stop, bro. All right, here's the clip. Here's the controversial clip from Liz Wheeler. You know, I like Liz. I was on her show. Beautiful young lady. I don't know if she's single or not, just saying. But you know, not always the most graceful per se, but she's a hard hitter. You know, that's her style. She just goes at it. She doesn't really care, and I respect that. And she's got nice hair, so I respect that as well. And, you know, it is what it is. Too many compliments, but I'm just saying. I'm looking at the picture now. I'm like, you know, she does well. But here's her talking about Black Lives Matter, and this was apparently the controversial clip. Here's Liz.
What is it the Black Lives Matter movement wants? I'm serious. What does the movement want? Do you want more Black cops? Do you want more white criminals shot? Do you want the police to stop engaging criminals altogether? Or do you just want police to look the other way if the person committing the crime has Black skin? Here's the thing. It's a false question to trap the movement because they can't answer it, and that means they're a farce. The Black Lives Matter movement speaks not for race, but for racial divide, not for hope, but for oppression, not for justice, but for revenge, not for freedom, but for fear, not for lives, but for lies. Is that what you want? To be placed on a pedestal above the rest? To kill cops because they're white? You want to be above the law because of your skin color? Well, you ought to talk to Hillary Clinton about that one.
Clearly not as graceful as me, but it's okay, Liz, if you are. Anyway, just kidding, but seriously. You know, I get what she was saying. Obviously, you know, we have our own styles and our own unique take at the news, but I understand what she was saying. She wasn't saying she hates Black people. She just thinks the organization Black Lives Matter is a farce. So she said, you get what I'm saying, how good they are at branding? If you don't want to buy an Apple computer, nobody says, oh, you hate apples? You don't like apples? And you're like, no, I like apples. I just want to buy a Microsoft computer. You know, or like, you don't like grape soda, so you hate all grapes? And you're like, grape soda's not even really, has real grapes in it. You know, it's artificial. Same with Black Lives Matter. I love Black people. Not all of them, but some. Just like I don't love all white people. Sorry. It's like, I love everyone. It's like, no, I like people that I like. People that annoy me. It's transracial. Rachel Dolezal transitioned from like white to black, you know. She annoys me sometimes, but I also like her. All right, I'm getting off topic. Point I'm trying to say is, you know, I get what she's talking about. She's not saying she hates everybody of a certain race. She just thinks that organization is a farce. And if you really look into what they're doing, they really are. I mean, I love the black community in America and in the world, and I would love to see them strive and be better and be healthier and more wealthy or whatever, but it doesn't mean I have to agree with what is a, you know, I don't believe that they care about all black lives. I think they care when a white police officer kills a black person or when a white person kills a black person. So to me, if you look at crime statistics and you ignore 99% of murders and you ignore, you know, health issues, diabetes, and a lot of things that are killing hundreds of thousands of people in your community and other systemic stuff going on, and you only talk about 0.01% of black lives, I agree with Liz. I don't think they really do care. I think they care about politics and a social agenda that doesn't even have to do with black America. And what do I mean by that? A lot of the people in it, I believe one of the founders in general, is a lesbian woman, and she conflates it with LGBT activism. I'm not saying do your thing, march, do whatever you got to do. It doesn't matter to me. However, to me, there's a huge difference. Like if I say I'm standing up for like, you know, Hispanics, and we're going to talk about this in the next story too. And then the next thing I'm talking about LGBT, it's like, what are you doing? Are you an LGBT group or are you a black group? They turned the Black Lives Matter protests into trans black protests in New York City in like 2 days and no one noticed. So it's like, you know, if you took a poll, I'm just being honest. If you took a poll in the black community and you asked them about LGBTQ, I'm guessing the favorability would not be so high. I think more than others, there's even polls that show that the black community is not really about that life. Even more than the white community in America is more supportive of that than black America is. So, you know, just because they call themselves Black Lives Matter, it means they're liberal, LGBT, you know, black, and now I would consider a lot of their tactics, you know, communist. They're working with a lot of the world's worst people to achieve an agenda that has nothing to do with common sense solutions. So, you know, I agree with what Liz said. Coach Gundy's a softie, or as I called him on Twitter, PUSS, you know what. And in general, it's like these people cave. He's never going to get the remorse from the others. And now people in America are just going to think he's a coward. It's like, I see the T-shirts hurt their feelings. It's like, dude, half of your team's going to have brain damage because they're smashing each other in the head. Fully grown men bashing each other in the head every day at practice. So, you ever see them do that? It's like, dude, you're going to break your brain. I mean, I used to play soccer, and I didn't even like heading the ball. I probably lost a few brain cells that way. It's like they purposely smack each other in the head as like a celebration. Maybe you should be concerned about that. Watch the movie with Will Smith where the guy gets brain damage, you know, instead of being concerned about a T-shirt, bro. These people are just so soft. On the next note, speaking about raising money for one thing and doing something completely else, Minnesota Freedom Fund, I believe it was promoted by a few celebrities. Reports are saying that they raised upwards of $35 million off the backs of the protests, saying we're going to bail out protesters. And if you paid any attention, it wasn't necessarily protesters that were getting arrested. There were millions of people protesting. If you followed the rules, almost everyone didn't get protested. Any celebrity from Cole Sprouse, the reason he got arrested was because they told him to leave. He stayed past curfew. He even admitted he purposely got arrested. It's not like he just wanted to do it, I guess, so he could be on Entertainment Tonight or something. But, and same with, was it not Logan Paul, but the other one, Jake Paul? Jake Paul was caught on camera looting a store. So they're not bailing out protesters to begin with. They're bailing out the people who break the law, loot a store. And I'm not a pro-curfew type person, but it's like at a certain point, you're blocking traffic every single day. We just had the federal government, guys, the world's worst people, just shut our country down for 3 or 4 months over what I would consider a massive exaggeration. And as you have millions of businesses, black, Hispanic, white, Asian, American businesses trying to open up, you guys are out blocking traffic every single day for 10 hours. And it's like, well, I'm going to block traffic and stand in front of a car. It's like, you ever see they're standing in front of a car, they're throwing projectiles at these people, and then they get run over, and they're, oh, I can't believe I got run over. It's like, who raised these people? Please raise your children right, or else the television is going to raise them wrong. You don't stand in front of cars, you don't walk in front of traffic, and you certainly don't stand in front of a car with a sign when your friends are throwing projectiles. You're asking to get run over. I don't justify it, but get out of the way, Becky. You're annoying. It's like these people just play professional victim. I was leaving the city the other day, and there was this white woman with a "you can't tell black women what to do" sign. You're not even black. What are you talking? Like, these people have issues. I'm sorry. Like, I love my brothers and sisters of other races, but like imagine me sitting, like, holding a sign being like, "You can't tell Asian men what to do." It's like, why? You know, I know, but these people are just so weird. Like, get out of the road, Nancy. You're blocking traffic. Don't worry. SAG-AFTRA will, you know, they'll hire you next year. You'll do more background work or whatever, and, you know, maybe one day you'll get into the academy. Just get out of my way. But Minnesota Freedom Fund raised $35 million or upwards of that, and apparently, according to reports, they only spent about $200,000 or so on bailed protesters. Because let's be honest, how many protesters can you even bail out? There's not that many people being arrested from it. So they spent around $200,000 on that. And that leaves, I don't know, 32 million, 33 million unaccounted for. They started talking about it on their Twitter, and they came to the conclusion that they're spending the leftover money on against ICE in our country for the kids in cages. First of all, this is, regardless of what you think politically, this is mainstream corporatist activism, celebrity activism, democratic activism to a T. They raise money for one thing, and then they do something completely else. They're using the black community. They say, hey, we're doing this for black America, and then they're going to go use it on illegal Hispanics. Even if you support illegal Hispanics, I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying the money was not raised for kids in cages. The money was not raised for illegal Hispanics. The money was not raised for legal Hispanics. The money was not raised for anything other than bailing people out of prison or jail for protesting for black Americans' right to matter. That's what they said that they were doing, and now they're just funneling it right towards another cause for a completely other ethnicity, for people who aren't even a citizen of this country. This is what they do time and time and time and time and time again, and people just allow them to do it because people think just because you're something, you're virtuous. And this is the trap people need to get out of. I hate Trump, so I'm a good person. No, you're not. I like Trump, so I'm a good person. No, you're not. It just, your political view, who you vote for on the ballot, red or blue, does not make you a special person. Just because you hate Hillary Clinton doesn't make you a good person. Just because you hate Donald Trump, it doesn't make you a good person. And these people think that they're Martin Luther King because they post a black square twice every 10 years and vote for Democrats. It's like these people are like spiraling. And that's the one thing I respect with like the right-wing libertarian view. It's a lot of self-accountability, and even they can't handle it nowadays. It's like self-accountability is the root of all spirituality as well. You read any sort of book about living in the present moment, Eckhart Tolle, Tao Te Ching, you know, any of these people, it's all about self-accountability, self-awareness, living in the present moment, and it's real. It's a real superpower. So they're trying to take you out of that and say nothing you do matters, stand in front of cars, take money, give it to somebody else. Like, they think they can do anything because they've chosen the life of the victim or the activist who's fighting the mean, bad right wing, so they think they could do anything. It's so not true. These people are spiraling into just wickedness. On that note, there was the biggest Facebook fundraiser in history. I don't know if anything beat it. It was RAICES, Races, I think was the name, and they were raising money for immigrants or illegal immigrants at the border. On Facebook, they raised God knows how much money. I did multiple videos about it before, tens of millions of dollars, I believe, and they used a picture of a little girl crying to raise money for people mothers separated at the border. The problem with that was, and nobody noticed except for me, nobody called it out, no one cared, no one said anything. I got a few million views, that's it. I mean, that's a lot, but I'm just saying compared to the rest of the media. The picture they used to raise $25 million for parents separated was not of a girl who was separated from her mother. The girl was never separated from her mother. The picture was taken out of context. It was used for a Time magazine cover propaganda. They photoshopped Trump into it. These people are wicked. They raised money off a little girl crying, never separated from her mom. Even Washington Post reported on it. Vice versa, the mom actually stole her from the father who had a high-paying job in South America, left her 3 other kids, so left her husband without telling him, left her 3 other kids without telling him, and beelined to America with one of the kids that he hijacked from the father. guys, these people are wicked. You know, I'm not saying she made a tough decision, whatever, but it's like they raised millions of dollars off of a picture that wasn't even representative of what happened. And now with the Minnesota Freedom Fund, you're starting to see it again. They're raising tens of millions of dollars, and they just think that, oh, well, no one will notice if we raise it for illegals as opposed to Black American protest. It's like, no, people are going to notice. And to be honest, if you want to talk about Black Lives Matter, Black people deserve better than this. And that's why I speak up, because the Democratic Party and sometimes the Republican Party and mass media and culture, it's tough to say this, and it's not for everyone to play the victim, but these people do not always have our best interests in mind. They'll sell you anything, whether it's McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, alcohol, pharmacy pills, lawyers. They don't like us, guys. They're going to sell us whatever they can to make as much money off us as possible. They don't care about you if you're Black. They don't care about you if you're white. They don't care about you if you're Hispanic. They don't really care. So we need to be smarter to not fall into these traps. And that's why I speak out about this stuff, because falling into a trap doesn't mean you're virtuous. It's going to hurt you. These people are not good. They're raising money off of your skin color and then giving it to another ethnicity. And this is what they do time and time and time and time and time again. They don't care if you struggle. They don't care if your community never comes out of the trap. They don't care about this stuff. What they care about is money and votes. And you could even see it in this election. The people responsible for this type of stuff are the ones doing all the outrage. There's reports that Nancy Pelosi's father was the mayor who got the Robert E. Lee statue installed. You have Joe Biden wrote the famous crime bill in the 90s that locked up more Black people than anybody. Trump did prison reform, got him out, but the media controls the brain and tells people that you can't wear a One America News Network, you need to be fired, you need to go, we need to vote for this guy. Because the Democratic Party has chains on the human brain, and this goes for every ethnicity. They're mind-controlling people into delusion. They'll raise $50 million off your skin color, give it to someone else. They'll tell you that in 2016 your life matters, and then they won't talk to you from 2017 to 2020, and then all of a sudden Black Lives Matter again. It's because it's an election year, guys. These people want to win. And I will say the one thing that they have in common with their, Minnesota Freedom Fund, whether it's bailing out protesters or funding people at the border, it's the same agenda. So that's why they feel justified in doing it. And that agenda is destabilizing America. What is turning against law enforcement? Guys, I'm not a fan of every ICE agent. I'm not a fan of every police officer. I'm not a fan of everybody in the military. I'm not a fan of every politician. Far from it. However, our enemies want to destabilize America. They don't want us to have law enforcement, so we're getting rid of law enforcement. They don't want us to have border security. What happens at the border, guys? Is it just moms trying to get through? If it was, I'd say, yeah, we don't need them. We'll work it out ourselves. No, there's human trafficking, guys. Thousands upon thousands of little girls and women are getting trafficked and raped all the time. There's drugs, there's guns, there's weapons, there's foreign and domestic threats. So it's not like they don't just do nothing and they just hurt women. That's a false framing by the wicked media to convince you to destabilize your own country. And it's the same thing when you have people burning and looting and rioting and blocking traffic after the government just looted you for 4 months and rioted against your soul and, exchanged wealth and kept your business shut down. Those are the same people pushing this stuff. So it's the same agenda, and then you get arrested. They're bailing you out to destabilize the country. So that's why Minnesota Freedom Fund thinks they can do it. And I don't know who runs Minnesota Freedom Fund, but guys, this is how the left moves. And it's not just the left, it's bigger than that. But they keep taking. Now if you search Minnesota on Twitter, Minnesota Freedom Fund comes up before the Minnesota Vikings or any big popular Minnesota sports teams. They're feeding you this activism. They're feeding you these lies. They're feeding you these groups to join. Just because it's named Freedom Fund or Black Lives Matter doesn't mean that that's their goal. That's not their goal. Their goal is communism. Their goal is power. Their goal is winning an election. Their goal is destabilizing America. These are wicked, wicked people, ladies and gentlemen. And 1,000% people, we got to wake our people up. God bless you guys. I'm going to go on to the next story, then I'm going to answer questions for a little. The final story comes from Benji Backer, who, according to his Twitter, is an environmentalist rooted in the markets of innovation, president and founder of ACC National. So, seems like a nice guy. He's wearing a backpack, so he's an environmentalist. Mountain profile picture. He tweeted, I just got canceled to speak at a climate change reform event because of a past tweet where I linked COVID-19 to the country of China. They claimed it was racially insensitive, absurd. I've been on the front line speaking out against racism for the past few months, weeks, and years. To be canceled for being racist because I linked COVID to China really sucks and exposes why so many people are frustrated with the division in our country right now. So this guy, probably a total snowflake, a total liberal, a total, social justice warrior, got canceled. And now he can't speak at his climate change event because he said COVID-19 came from China, which according to our reports it did, and they think that that's racist. Guys, this is who these people are. They're destable agents. If you're not a snowflake, you know somebody who hates you. If you're Hispanic, you could tell somebody that hates you. If you're black, you could tell somebody that hates you. If you're white, you could tell somebody that hates you. If you're Asian, you could tell somebody that hates you. But using words doesn't mean somebody hates you. Talking about race, talking about countries, talking about ethnicity, talking about differences, similarities, recipes, culture, dancing, food. That doesn't, everything to do with race isn't racist. Saying a virus came from a country is not racist. Speculate. It's like, this is not to help your race. I promise you. This is to destabilize the country, the dictionary, social cohesion, to the point where these sick, wicked people can take advantage of you, which they're doing every single day. And everybody on the left, whether you're, or even on the right, you need to stop caving to these people. It's never going to be enough. You could fight racism your whole life. And then you say one thing they disagree with, and they'll try to destroy your life, even if it's the most nothing burger like this. It's okay to say that. To be honest, I'm going to push it even further. It's okay to make jokes about Chinese people. It's okay to make jokes about white people, black people, Hispanic. That's comedy. You can make a joke. You can be kind of mean as long as it's funny and you have good intentions. You could say that certain things come from certain places. You could talk about Africa. You could talk about South Africa. You talk about America. You could talk about India and China. Right now they're fighting. 20 Indian police officers or Indians in the Indian country are dead. There's stuff going on in the world. Not everything's pretty, okay? Not everything is the same. Japan is not exactly the same as Mexico. There's differences in culture. There's differences in skill sets sometimes. On average, it's just true. You look at the NBA, I notice a pattern, There's a high percentage of a certain type of person. That's not a bad thing. It just means for some reason they're excelling in that craft. I don't want the NBA to be 50% women or 50% diverse with Filipinos out there. No, just get the best people and play ball. So it's like this, it's tiresome just watching these people. Oh, I fought for racism my whole life and now I'm being called a racist. Yep, that's what happens when you lie. And to be honest, Benji, you should look into climate change and you should look at how they calculate that too, because it's very similar to COVID-19 and it's very similar to how you're being treated. They cherry pick certain things, they leave certain things alone, and when it doesn't fit their consensus that they thought they had, they'll just lie about it. So it's like, oh, we can't have a protest of more than 3 people. Unless it's our protest, we can have 1 million people because of racism. They even do that with climate change now. Their climate change is racist when it doesn't happen. Al Gore, it's like, dude, it never ends, Benji. So hopefully this woke you up a little bit, because look closer at it. The closer you get to the facts, the closer you get to reality, the closer you get to the truth, the closer you get to self-awareness, the closer you get to being a good person, the closer you get to God, the closer you get to, being able to control yourself, thus seeing the world clear. You have to change yourself to change the world. The closer you get to that, Benji, the more these wicked people are going to hate you and try to cancel you and try to lie about you, because they don't operate in the realm of being a good person. They operate in the realm of outrage, exaggeration, lies, and using, racism, words to just shut down discussions. And it's very wicked. It hurts people. So this culture needs to calm down. I don't subscribe to it at all. I never will. I'll never cave. The only time I'll apologize if I'm sorry, not to apologize for a t-shirt as my students are bashing their brains in and getting brain damage. It's just, the hypocrisy never ends with these people. They'll talk about 9 lives every year, ignore millions. They don't care about slavery. They don't care about war. They don't care about the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 causes of your people. They don't care about any of this stuff, guys. These are wicked people who operate in the realm of emotions and brainwash. They don't operate on a fair playing field. So stop caving to the mob, folks. They will never stop. You will never win. The GOP, more than the left, needs to listen to this, because they're a bunch of snowflakes too. They're like, I'm sorry, I'll work. It's like, guys, they're never going to like you. You might as well just do the right thing. All right, let's read some comments. Lisa said humor is canceled. people are just too soft, guys, and that's how you get taken advantage of. You should be worried about your diet. You should be worried about what's going on in the world. You should be worried about what's going on in your community. They take away the tangibles to get you focused on something that's not even going to affect your life, and they just drive you crazy with it. You know, people always try to make me, unless you physically say you're hating every single person of my skin color, I don't care. It doesn't offend me. It's not a big deal. And in general, I don't even mind how they talk about white people. It's fine. However, they have to stop being hypocrites. If you're allowed to blame white people for everything, if you're allowed to blame Europeans for everything, if your ethnicity is doing a majority of media manipulation or banking or crime, and you're not, if I point that out, I'm a racist or an anti-Semite, but you can just blame me for something that me and my family's not doing all day, that's where I draw the line. It's like, I make fun of white liberals all the time. The second I say anything Jewish, anti-Semite. I could say 50 million things about white people, no one cares. And then I say one thing about black, you're racist. It's like, no, that's not how the world works. If you guys can dish it out 10 million times and just be wildly inaccurate with it, I can dish it out once a week and be wildly accurate with it. So they can't take the truth. It's just embarrassing. Someone said, I saw the Roseanne interview. It blew my mind. Yeah, that's God's work, man. I did, you know, people ask me how I set that up. Roseanne just started retweeting me on Twitter 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm one of the people, regardless of her cancel culture, especially, you know, interesting you bring her up, but Roseanne is like a genius. Like, she's like prophet level smart. She's also just wild. So, you know, people don't get her. And even the tweet she got canceled for, that's not even what she was talking about. She was on some like 3-part puzzle, you know, posting. Like, she wasn't even trying to say that. So in general, I bring the best out of Roseanne because I know how smart she is. Like, people think she's just a moron. She's a genius, and she has like crazy good vision, and she just doesn't operate on a simple playing field. And also, she doesn't care. The whole reason that Roseanne got famous was she was the woman who didn't act like a woman. You know, she was willing to get rough with the boys, and that's what made Roseanne famous. She was crude, she was rude, but she was real. So now she's crude, rude, real for 30 years. She's been hiring black people in Hollywood before Hollywood would hire black people in Hollywood. She's always looked out for minority communities. When it wasn't popular, she put people on the map, and then she says one tweet and they tear down 30 years of her work. You know, these people are wicked. They act like they care about words. It's tricky stuff. But she just reached out to me because she was retweeting me, and then we hung out, and she's a good woman. Someone said exactly, I don't have a problem with how anyone acts, any group acts, it's individuals. Yeah, you got to treat people on individuals, but here's the hypocrisy from these people. I'm just being honest. Don't call me a name. I'm just keeping it real. Listen, I'll take all the heat. I'm mostly white. I'm probably like 70 to 85% white. I'm not sure exactly. I've never taken a DNA test. And then the rest of me is Hispanic, of my knowledge. But in general, you could make fun of Hispanics. Just be accurate. You know, don't be a jerk. You can make fun of white people. You could blame white people. Whatever. It doesn't bother me. Just if you dish it out, you should be able to take it. That's all I ask. So if you blame white Anglo-Saxons for everything under the sun, they did a lot of stuff in this world, in this country, and they deserve to take accountability for what white people did. But the amount of Jewish people doing this stuff in mass media and in celebrity culture that are blaming white supremacy, it's like, guys, Mark Cuban's crying about white supremacy. It's like, dude, he's Jewish. They have more than enough power, more than enough media control, more than enough businesses. I mean, statistically, they're doing way better than most European Americans, and they still just blame the white working class. I just don't agree with it. That's not to blame all Jewish people. I don't do that. And people take it out of context. Like, oh my God, anomalies. No, I'm just keeping it real. And it's the same with black. I have no problem, but Oprah lives a better life than me. All these rappers and celebrities live a better life and a more privileged life than me. And however, I understand that systemically there's some problems, but also systemically there's some problems for me. If I want to get a job and I apply somewhere, I don't put white. I put Hispanic. You know why? Because that's where the privilege is. There is no systemic privilege to being white in a company. You get them to bend over backwards for you if you're Hispanic or a minority. And Asians and whites usually get the short end of the stick. It's just a fact. And crime-wise, it's like they want to act like white people are responsible for 100% of the crime, blue and white collar. It's not true. They're responsible for some, but if you look at statistics, an overwhelming majority of certain crimes via statistics comes from the black community. How come you can blame every white person on the planet every single day, and then you can't take one hint of truth? It's like, I don't care how offended they are, any group, I don't care. And it's not a disrespect to any person who's that ethnicity, either black or Jewish. It's just, do you get what I'm saying? It's like, how many Jewish celebrities are going to bash working class white people before they take accountability? How many, black celebrities are going to dox and threaten and do all this stuff and before they look like at what's going on? And help from all levels, not just, it's annoying. But what do I think about J.J. Watt? I don't know. I don't know him as a person. I mean, I like the fact that he's a big guy who tackles people, but I don't know. He seems like a nice guy, but he's probably, is he doing something wrong or something? I don't know. Sherry said, I'm a minority at my job. I'm one of the few white people there. Yeah, no, they're going out of their way, and they're even admitting it. The Civil Rights Act doesn't even exist anymore, guys. They're not even following it. Everything in this country is rigged against, whites and Asians systemically for work. It's just a fact. So these people are trying to do to you. I hope people realize it. I'm not trying to be too extreme. They're trying to do to you what they're doing to One America News Network and Fox News. They don't want you to exist. If you're white, they don't want you there. I'm sorry. If you're conservative, you could be a black female conservative. They don't want you there either. They have a certain agenda. They're everything that they're trying to fight in the world. Projection tactics overflow them. They're intolerant. They don't want anybody who disagrees with them politically. They want to blame everything on one race, and they want to make it so you can't even work there. I mean, 50-60% of the population is now allowed to have 30 or 20% of the jobs, and then 20% of the population is allowed to have 90% of the jobs, and they still complain, and they still blame you, and they still frame things out of context. Guys, it's a never-ending game. There's multiple videos, and I don't care because I don't share fear porn. It's not my thing, whether it's the George Floyd stuff or others, but there's many videos of young black kids punching white people in the face, murdering white people. People don't freak out about it every time it happens. Black Lives Matter is going to wait till a white cop or a white person kills a black person, and then they're going to scream about it. Unfortunately, in this country, millions of people die every year. There's tens of thousands of murders, and there's going to be some interracial murders that go both ways. Statistically, it doesn't go the way that they say it goes. Statistically, in their own community, that's not who's murdering them overwhelmingly. Statistically, everything they say is a lie, but you can't win bowing to them. And this is what the GOP and the conservatives don't understand. It's a never-ending game. If you don't understand how the media and these activist groups operate, guys, they have the ability to talk about anything at any time. And if it's something that happens 7 times a year, they're going to do it 7 times a year. So overall, you have to understand they're never going to stop. They could ignore millions of events and wait for one and talk about that one for 3 years. And that's what they're doing. And you even see now, I had a conversation with her earlier, but Candace Owens is getting a lot of heat, not just from the left, but from black conservatives. Even black conservatives are getting upset with her. Not all. I don't want to group everybody in, but same with other conservatives. They're like, oh, she's doing too much. She's telling it's justified. She never said it's justified. People are scapegoating an argument. She's just trying to explain something from a psychological level, and people don't want to hear it. They're like, no, they don't get it. They don't understand the tactics that are going on, so they're going to keep losing ground. They're going to keep giving up, and they're not gaining voters. Nobody looks at that and says, like, wow, you caved. Like, thank you so much. Just call it like you see it. Be honest. Be truthful. That's it. Someone said it's because the majority doesn't have accountability. It's a superpower in this world, regardless of who you are, is self-accountability. Blaming, like, this is toxic in relationships. This is toxic in real life. Blaming other people for your failures, blaming other people for your life, it's a dead end, no matter where you come from. I know because I did it, and I understand for certain people it's going to be harder. In certain areas and certain level of income, it's going to be tougher. But I'll tell you, just from a personal experience, when I started out doing music, I was always bitter. I was always jealous. I was always envious. Why? Because my family I don't come from a connected family. They weren't giving me money. They weren't helping me. There was nothing like that. I saw other people making it just because of who their family was and making it just because of who they were. And I started getting envious because I was like, why did they get all that except for me? It's the dumbest thing I could have ever done. Was I right? I was right. They were privileged. You know, they had privilege, financial and, family privilege, and it annoyed me. But it trapped me because I was focusing on them more than I was focusing on myself. And when I really started to thrive in multiple ways was when I said, let me stop looking at what I don't have. I don't have that money. I don't have those connections. I don't have that business. But what do I have? I said, I have a cell phone. I have freedom. I have the time to do it. And I busted my butt for 5 years. I worked 2-3 jobs and then did a job to the side. I worked harder in a week than most people do in 2 years. And I still do. I still put out more content and more videos and self-manage and answer more than anybody. So that's the trap is focusing on others. You know, it really is. And in that community, you know, in the black community, just to be honest, when it comes to murder, it's black on black crime. So a lot of, and you see with not only Candace Owens, I'm looking at the way black conservatives are treating her, Nipsey Hussle, Malcolm X. It was not the other side that ended up destroying them. It was people in your inner circle. And that's true with white crime as well. Most white murders come from white people. If you look up statistics, it's not popular to say, doesn't trend on Twitter, but it is true. It's like if you really statistically want to cut out 90% of this nonsense, it comes from a certain mindset. It's not even wealth, it's a mindset. And they've done a good job hijacking the mindset. And the smartest black leaders and white leaders try to explain that for hundreds of years. From Booker T. Washington to Marcus Garvey to Malcolm X, you know, all these people were warning people of what they were doing to the mind. You know, there's a great, I'm going to look for it real quick because he doesn't really get a lot of press in a history class, Marcus Garvey. I just got to find this quote real quick. It's phenomenal. Quote. And this was in the early 1900s. Here it is. This is in the early 1900s. Marcus Garvey said, "We are going to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery because whilst others might free the body, none but ourselves can free the mind. The man who is not able to develop and use his mind is bound to be a slave of the other man who uses his mind." Guys, I'm going to read this again. This is a genius quote, and this goes for everybody. This is early 1900s, guys. So if we're in 2020, there's no excuse not to understand this stuff. Marcus Garvey said, "We are going to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery because whilst others can free the body, none but ourselves can free the mind. The man who is not able to develop and use his mind is bound to be a slave of the other man who uses his mind." And that's the same thing that's going on in America. I don't blame anyone else. I can't even blame media companies. And, you know, you see a lot of right-wingers will blame Israel. You'll see a lot of left-wingers, they'll blame Trump. You know, not all right-wingers. A lot of them love Israel. I'm just saying on the far right, people like to blame. But at the end of the day, what did you do? What did you allow? What did you watch? What did you believe? You know, our culture got lazy. Our culture got weak. And we got taken advantage of by multiple actors in multiple countries, from China to here, to here, to here, to Russia. I'm sure, you know, everybody had a take at it. But that's America's fault. You get what I don't blame Israel. I don't blame Saudi Arabia. I don't blame China. I don't blame Mexico. I don't blame even Democrats. I mean, you know, I blame ourselves. Why did we get lazy? Why did we get foolish? Why did we believe it? Why did we take it? Why did we stand up for it? And then you just see the decline. So it's like, even for myself, I don't play the victim. I believe the media is wicked, but overall, it's our own fault for getting this foolish for so long. And so many people wanted to ignore what was going on. And like what I was talking about 4 or 5 years ago, even in music, I always had a deep message from 2008. Everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody thought I was dumb. Not dumb, but like they're like, oh, Anomaly's rapping about things that no one cares about. We like women, drugs, you know, just dumb stuff, clubbing. It's like that's all the rappers were talking about it. Beer pong cups in college. I was always talking about something. But then reality sneaks up on it. Now you can't go to business. Now you can't go to the gym. Now you can't go anywhere. Now there's riots. Now your city's falling apart. Now do you care? Because you should have cared for the last 40, 50 years, since like the 60s. No one's cared. They just got too comfortable. And that's what happened. So, you know, in general, it doesn't just apply with the Marcus quote. It's anybody. It's like if you don't control your mind, someone else will. When television was invented, people should have known. You know, they should have been smarter. smarter people will take advantage of dumber people, and bigger people, they will if you allow it. But you can't get mad if you allow it. You're doing it. It's like, do you get mad at the person who's selling it if you're buying it? They shouldn't sell it, but you shouldn't buy it. You know, it's an unfortunate reality, but we can't play the victim either. Someone said Marcus Garvey spell check. Yeah, it's a great quote. I'll probably share it later on my page. Someone says, should Trump be accountable for any of his actions? If so, which ones? No, Trump is accountable for all his actions. Everything that Trump does and says, he's got to be accountable for. So I can't just pick one. For sure, Trump has made many mistakes, and Trump will have to deal with the mistakes he made, you know, and people he picked to surround himself by, to maybe things that he said that came off the wrong way. But overall, I think the word part is overrated. But there's actions he's done and people he's hired that he'll have to, you know, deal with the consequences of that. That's everybody, you know. Every day, I have to deal with my actions. If I eat Dominoes later, I have to deal with the stomach ache I'm gonna get. You know, it's human nature. No one's above it. Trump's not above it. I'm not above it. No one's above it. Shelby said, I've been getting straight, fully efficient, creating a garden, root cellar, and bulk stock pantry. Shelly, sounds awesome. You're crushing. Someone said, cut that last part out. It's a great quote. Yeah, I'll find it and I'll just share it. I'll share the quote right on my page. Someone said, I'm so glad I'm in Little West, Texas. Sounds great. Someone said, parts of that Marcus Garvey quote is in a lyric from Bob Marley's Redemption song. Absolutely. Most people think Bob Marley came up with that, but he was quoting Marcus Garvey. That's correct. Bob Marley was excellent, and so is his sons. His son, Damian Marley, phenomenal. I saw him live with Nas, and he outshined Nas. And Nas is one of the best rappers ever. And Damian Marley outshined him at the concert. I was like, this guy's got lyrics. Damian Marley's phenomenal. Stephen Marley's phenomenal. He's got a talented family. Richard said, I honestly think Trump showed his place in the world, not bucking Fauci and the CDC. I'll say this, Richard. The GOP and even Trump, like, maybe Trump has a trick up his sleeve. We'll find out. I know a lot of people hope so, but they've really showed that they can't, when push comes to shove, they're not really going to be there for us. You know, COVID-19, Republicans did better than Democrats, but, you know, they weren't really fully there. And same with these, right? Like, you know, the Republican Party and even Trump, there's only so much he can do. And in some ways, you know, to some people that might be disappointing, but if you don't have expectations, you know, the old Buddhists and Taoists always said, expectations lead to disappointment. You know, when you have over expectations for something, that's where the disappointment comes from. So if you don't have too much, you could like the guy and vote for him and love him. But if you expect him to like save the world, he might not be capable. Like, you know, it's very difficult. And they threw more wrenches at him and he capitulated to the CDC and to all of them, you know, for whatever reason. But it's not really bad if you don't expect him to do otherwise. It's like, now you know. The police aren't going to save you. Trump's not going to save you. The Republicans aren't going to save you. We got to save ourselves. You know, we can't. And I said this for a while too. A lot of people jump on Trump's back. And I mean, I understand he's a strong, powerful person who's really trailblazed and he deserves everything he's getting. But it's almost selfish in a way to jump on Trump's back and just ride. Like, he's not going to be there forever. He's a 70-something-year-old guy who's already done more in 4 years than probably anyone ever has in bucking the system. We can't expect it to last forever, and I think that's going to be a downfall of a lot of people who support him, is they, you know, they got too comfortable. He's an underdog for this next election. I obviously hope he'll win, but it's not looking super hot right now. So people are going to have to get used to not riding his back, and eventually other people and us as the people stepping in to really, you know, defend ourselves or defend this country. Because he's doing a lot, but we can't, you know, he can't do everything, and he hasn't done everything. Someone said Trump needs to wake people up. There's only so much he can do. It's got to be other people. He needs help. He's done a lot in waking up, but he's one guy, and his approach works for certain people. We need other people. I don't know if you guys saw, if you follow me on Instagram at DreamRare, DreamRare. In my stories, I've been sharing really cool clips. There's this younger black Christian woman, I think her name was I forget her exact name, but Beatty was the last name. I have it in my story probably still, where you can click and follow her. But she's a Christian woman out there just really schooling people. And I think that's going to wake up a lot of people. Like, you know, the effect of watching an educated, smart, Christian, young black woman just schooling a white liberal with a safari hat. A lot of people are like, wow. And she knew her facts, and she had a really good conviction and really good energy. And that's what we need, because everybody has a different energy and a different approach. Some people like comedy. Some people like straight facts. Some people like calm, you know, and you can't reach everybody. So we need people of all ethnicities, of all religions and genders and whatever, to, you know, do their part. And really, whether you convince one people or two, or wake someone up, or just be a good person in general, you know, that type of ripple effect is what we're going to need going forward, you know, because Trump can only do so much. And that's not a bad thing. It's just he's one guy. And this system is very, very complex. And systems only work if you operate in them. So if you run a factory with 500 people, the factory only works if the 500 people go to work. And that's one thing to their credit. There's not a lot I could really say good about these protests, but I will say they've shown that they can buck the system. You know, they've completely destroyed old systems, and the politicians are capitulating to them, because if you don't have people operating, you can't run. And that's what they're showing, and that's kind of a positive. But overall, in general, that's what they did to our country too. They shut it down for a couple months, and now you have people not capitulating. So we have more power. We just have to figure out how to use it. And unfortunately, you know, people's minds are all over the place and scrambled, but, you know, there's progress being made as well. Someone said Trump needs some people with balls to back him, or at least work with him. No spines in Washington. Yeah, it's a combination of that. And also, a lot of these old heads are really sold out. Like, I knew for the last 2 years, and I don't go that hard on Trump. I mean, I call it like I see it, but when it comes to who he hires and stuff, I'm like, you know, let him do his thing. If it becomes a problem, I'll say it's a problem, but maybe there's a strategy there. With Lindsey Graham, I knew Lindsey Graham is a bad actor. You just follow his foreign policy. He's like a Mitt Romney type in disguise. I knew that for 2 years. You know, John Bolton, I knew John Bolton is a wicked man. I mean, I'm not going to say I know him personally, but you look at his foreign agenda. If you like Trump because he's an outsider, John Bolton's not your guy. John Bolton's a George Bush neocon war hawk. There's few people who want to start more wars than John Bolton. So, you know, when Trump hired him, he's made a lot of decisions that ended up backfiring. But I don't blame him for it, because how do you choose somebody? You know, like you said, there's barely anybody in Washington who's really a decent person. I think Rand Paul is probably the most righteous person in Washington at this moment. That's really it. And Trump goes golfing with them, but there definitely needs to be better people there. But that's in our country too. There needs to be better people in our country, better celebrities, better media. Our politicians are a product of our collective. Apparently we're not crushing, you know, because you turn on the television or you look at Washington, there's not a lot of winners there. But, you know, we got to figure out how to get better people in those positions. Someone said vote Jorgensen and Cohen. I'm going to say this. First of all, I like libertarian ideology. I need to look into Jorgensen, but I'm not trying to shame people because I voted third party in 2016. If you want to vote for who you want to vote for. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. But at this time, like, Trump is slated to lose to Joe Biden. So if you vote for a Libertarian Party, you might as well just, I mean, you could vote for them, but you're pretty much just giving it to Biden. And I'm not trying to shame people. I know the Democratic Party does that. If you don't vote for Hillary, you're voting for Trump. But at this point, it's like if Trump loses by 1 million votes and 2 million people voted for the Libertarian Party, there's the two options this year. I can't say for next year. Maybe you could build the Libertarian Party into something, but it's Trump or Biden at this moment, and not voting for either of them is going to help the other one. That's just the truth. I'm not trying to shame people, but you know, this, to me, this election, I don't want Biden. However, I'm prepared for whatever is meant to be. Someone said they need to break the USA down to bring on the NWO. Yeah, there's a lot of destabilization going on here. And if people, it's tough though, because the real history and the real present is not told on mainstream media. They cover it up and lie about it because they're the ones doing it. But if you study what they did in the Middle East and in Africa, they've been doing this for the last 10 years. Destabilization. They're destabilizing America like they destabilized Libya. They're destabilizing America like they destabilized Syria. And it's not karma because I don't think we deserve it, but when you don't pay attention, these things happen. Like, so many people didn't care what we did in Afghanistan because they're not from Afghanistan. So many people were easy to believe the George Bush lies in Iraq or in the Middle East because that's not their country. Most people don't care about Syria because they don't live there. Most people don't care about Africa because they're not living there. But then when what they've been doing there, what your politicians and your leaders have been doing there, comes to the homeland, now everybody's concerned about it. But, we've had 20 years to, turn this boat around. And I know a lot of people tried, but this is kind of, unfortunately, a rude awakening for our country. And hopefully we can learn and grow from that. And overall, it's not in history, bad things happen, good things happen. There's a renaissance. So, even if these are dark times, I'm confident we can come out of this with a renaissance. And, that's the only way to do it. You can't win a championship by thinking you're going to lose a championship. So we got to keep our minds clear and be the change we want to see and work towards, these goals that we have. The education system is shot, yeah, but Aaron, this is a good question. Aaron said, are we sure the right and the left don't party together behind closed doors? No, they absolutely do. I mean, if you're talking about literally partying, you can Google Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Ivanka Trump party. Bezos had an after party in January with Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner, Kellyanne Conway, all partying together. So they literally party together. And also, if you look at politics, a lot of these people, there's a connection, A lot of these Republicans are taking money from big tech. So they say that they're going to stop Google. Some of them are taking money from them. Some of these, some of the top Republicans are sold out to multiple corporations, foreign and domestic, and Democrats. So there's a lot of sellouts. There's a lot of sneaks, for sure. I think there's a lot of overlap. And even certain things were like, I pointed out, and I got a lot of backlash, mostly, believe it or not, wasn't from the left. I mean, at least I don't see it. It was, they just leave me alone. I don't know. I think, maybe I just don't see it. But I'm sure they secretly hate, but they know I'm telling the truth. The most backlash I got during the COVID shutdown was from Trump supporters, from people who didn't want to hear that there could possibly be something wrong. And it's like, guys, I know, I hate to break it to you, but the CDC, the Fauci, Trump isn't fighting them. He's working with them. He's giving money to Gavi, Gavi, which is this vaccine alliance run by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Trump isn't, no matter how much you like him or going to vote for him, in no way, shape, or form is he fighting Bill Gates or, Fauci and the CDC and, Jerome Adams. He loves them. He works with them, or, and they're partying together behind closed doors. So, it's like a rude awakening to some people, and they got mad at hearing it, but, he might go after some people, but he's not going to, it's kind of childish, in my opinion, to think Trump is going to destroy all your enemies and people you don't like. I hate all these people in 15 different industries, so Trump's going to take them all down. It's like a dream, but, it's kind of selfish. You think Trump's going to do your work for you, the people have to do something too. So, overall, there's a lot of sneakery going on, but... I don't blame him for it. It's not a negative thing that I said, it's his fault. I'm just saying it seems like the deep state and the powers that be have so much power, and they're so widespread, and it's so gigantic that it's going to have to, he's going to need some help. You can't just jump on his back and expect him to take down the whole world. He needs some help. Someone said too much of a risk for him to go there. Guys, they threw the kitchen sink at him this year. He had everything going for him. They threw a million things at him, and election season, they knew they were going to lose. They run statistics. Trust me, these people are not just winging it. They're running AI, artificial intelligence, algorithms. They know what's going on. They knew that statistically Trump had no chance of losing come January or February. They threw the kitchen sink at him. They threw every single thing that they could possibly think about, from shutdown to mail-in ballot to riots to protests to... Guys, now he's lower than he's ever been. And I'm not talking about just the polls. even in the election odds. I'm not saying it's over. We have a long way to go. Trump needs a few secrets up his sleeve, but you get what I'm saying? No question that it's widespread, and no question that they threw everything they possibly could at him. So like you said, certain things are too much risk for too much reward. He can't do everything. He can't stop everything. You know, he can only do so much. But that's why people in media have to help him. People in general have to help him, from Supreme Court to circuit judges to politicians to people to teachers to coaches. Everyone needs to do their part. That's why you can't, you know, it's tough. I understand you need to make money. You don't want to lose your job. But at a certain point, you got to stand up for what's right, you know, or else you're just caving to the outrage mob. Someone said, how do we help if we don't know who to trust? I mean, just be the change, you know? Just do what you can to contribute. But I would say the best way to understand who's fake and who's not is to understand yourself. I know it sounds corny, but I really believe that from a spiritual level. You can't understand other people until you can understand yourself. If you're not complete inside, or you have many problems, we all do, but if you know, the more you have, the more sporadic you're going to be with your vision. So if you can change yourself and you can get right inside, you'll be able to have better discernment, which is the ability to judge people, and then you'll learn a little more. And over time you might get tricked every now and then, but it all starts within. You know, it's corny, but I feel like it's true. Julie said, hey, a lot of people that believe in Trump are in the shadows. Oh, no question. The silent majority is huge. It's still close to a 50-50 split, no question. But the election is, what's it called? The election is the Electoral College. So you got to look at every Florida map. Guys, every Florida election is very close. Ted Cruz almost lost Texas. So if Trump loses one of these states, he's going to lose. It's not about how popular he is. Absolutely. It's like probably nearly a 50-50 split as far as how people feel. But election-wise, you know, he just needs to lose one of those states and he's done. Or Michigan or Pennsylvania, you know. He needs to win those. And it's a matter of not that many people that separate certain elections. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that no one likes him. A lot of people like him, for sure. A lot of people are silent. I'm going to read this quote real quick from my buddy Zuby on Twitter. I'm going to read a few good ones because I share good stuff on my Twitter, which is Legendary Energy. But Zuby said something earlier, and I'm going to read it. I thought it was pretty smart. I mean, he's always saying smart stuff, but he's talking about the silent majority, and he said, he said, cancel culture. Oh, no, that's a different one. I retweeted two of them. Hold on one second. I got a lot of tweets to go through. All right. Here it is. He said, if the silent majority is too cowardly to voice their own principles and values, they may as well be the minority. So that's what it is. You know, like, I'm going to read it again. If the silent majority is too cowardly to voice their own principles and values, then they might as well be the minority. It's like, the silent majority is not doing anything. You know, everybody's silent. You can't do that for so long. I mean, I understand people have their reasons, but it's like, if the silent majority includes having control and not being able to do anything, you're doomed either way. I'm going to read another one. This comes from Emerald Robinson, who is, I'm not even sure who she is, Newsmax White House correspondent, former One American News Network lady. She said, what's so incredible about this chaotic moment in America is that it's happening while the GOP holds the White House, the Senate, and the Supreme Court. And yet it seems like the GOP is the minority party. So if you have power and you don't, you know, it's like we have all the control, the left wing still dominates. They still drag you left. What happens when they get control? Guys, they're going to go insane. But even if you control every branch of government, they're still not doing anything. It's a personal problem. You can't blame the left for that. At a certain point, the left is doing things, but the right lets them do it. They just allow it to happen. Not everybody. There's some great, you know, conservative areas. I'm just saying, I'm a little shocked at how weak they've been this year, and so are the polls. But So it says silent majority is silent because the left is so delusional. Yeah, I feel you, but at a certain point, if you're the silent majority that is in power that can't do anything, then you might as well not be the majority. You're not going to be the majority forever, and you're just going to get overrun. So I understand why people are doing it, but, you know, at a certain point, yeah, the voting as well. I hear it. I don't know. Everybody has their own, you know yourself, you know what you're meant to do, you know why you're here and what's smart for you and your family. So make your own decisions. Everyone's different. Everyone has their own path and their own journey. For me personally, though, you know, just I knew even doing music, I never talked about what they wanted me to talk about. And I knew it would cost me a job. I knew it would cost me certain contracts. I knew it would cost me getting certain places. And it did. For 10 years, I was broke. I had no money. I came to the city of Los Angeles with 2 bags and less than $500 in my account. I had nothing for most of my adult life. Didn't go on vacation, wasn't able to go anywhere, haven't had a car in 8 years, haven't driven because I don't have a car. I sacrificed everything. But I knew that what I was going to do would one day be popular. And I don't want to be popular, but I knew, why is the lie popular? Why is this crappy music with crappy lyrics and crappy lifestyles and crappy people doing crappy things? How is that popular? That's not what people want to do. And I've seen them take what's not popular and make it more popular by degenerating our culture and degenerating our country. So at a certain point, it pays off to stand up for yourself. It's hard, but nothing in life's easy. You can't get anywhere with it being easy. And, you know, now it's paying off for me, but also, you know, for Shelley Luther. She could have been a coward and said, I'll just let them shut down my hair salon. But she decided to stand up for herself. She got arrested. And then she got a bunch of GoFundMe money. It's not all about money, but people who are afraid, I can't lose my job. Shelley Luther probably has more money than she's ever had. You know, same with a lot of people. I mean, sometimes it pays, especially because there's so many good people out there. So I'm not financially driven per se, but it's like, if you're worried about finances, if you finesse it the right way, you know, God will get your back and the American people will have your back. So, you know, we definitely don't have a shortage, or we do have a shortage of people who are brave enough to say how they feel. And we don't have a shortage in people who want to be the silent majority. Heather said nothing worth achieving is easy. Absolutely. I'm going to read this. Let me see. Dene Porto. What's up, brother? He says, Americans are free and they're afraid to talk and voice their opinion. I'm Cuban and I know what it feels like not to be able to talk. They must learn. God bless you. And that's key, brother. He says Americans are free. It's all in your mind. Like Marcus Garvey said, if you don't take the chains off your brain, I'm misquoting him, but you're never free until you take the chains off your brain. A lot of what they do in America is fear. But if you come from Cuba, you know, I'm just kind of playing, but jokes aside, but that is really how you say it in a Spanish accent. But if you come from other countries where, like, you literally can't say anything, like in Germany or the UK, you almost literally can't say anything. They might arrest you. In communist Cuba, you know, they might literally come for you. In America, you just have social backlash, and maybe it's not great. It's not good to get backlash here, but it's still free. And like I was saying earlier, if you don't appreciate what you have, you lose it. So if you think America's not free now, just wait until 10 years of everyone being silent. You're really going to lose your freedom, and then you're really going to know what it feels like to not live in a free country. So while you have it, you got to use it, like our brother said. Good comment. And that's perspective. You know, it's still not that bad here. Before, everyone thought it was terrible 2 years ago, and then COVID came, and now people wish they could go back to where they were, and now the riots came, and people want to go back to COVID. You know? They're like, I wish it was simple just like COVID, because they don't... It's going to get worse until enough people stand up. Ryan said we're scared of losing our jobs and livelihood over saying anything. I hear you. It's very plausible, but you have to balance, like, what's worth it. Like, you know, at a certain point, are they really your friends if they can't take a simple truth? You know, are they really people you want to work around for 10 years if they don't allow you to be yourself? I don't know. Everyone has a threshold. For me, I got a little bit of an attitude. So any job I've had, I saved up enough money and then I ended up leaving. But I would always save up enough to make my next transition, you know? So I don't know. You know, you got to figure it out for yourself. But for me, there was a certain threshold I just couldn't take. But I wouldn't leave and be broke on the street. I would save up enough for like 2 months, 3 months of rent or whatever. And then I'd be like, all right, I'm out. And they're like, why are you out? I'm like, because I don't like you guys. Why don't you like us? I don't know. You guys are liars. Douglas said, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but the power of love and sound mind. They control people with fear. I mean, it's a big thing. So, you know, everyone has their own threshold. Trust me, I have friends that can't say certain things because they don't want to lose certain jobs and stuff. But I don't know. At a certain point, you got to figure out what your threshold is. Because I just think people are underestimating how bad it could get if you guys don't do anything. Like, people think like, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to lose this. It's like, guys, you don't, like, you go to South Africa, you would have wished you said something. You know, you get to a certain stage of communism or racial tension, you're going to wish that you had it like you have it now. Like, it's not like the COVID happened and people said, oh, that would never happen. And then people started watching my videos because they were like, you get what I'm saying? It's like, this is crazy. It's going to keep getting crazy until people do something about it. So there is no easy route. Staying silent is not the easy route. You're going to get protests. You're going to get riots. You're going to get decay, social and societal decay that will lead to something very dangerous for you. So it's not going to get easier if this many people don't want to step up. I'm going to read this. Sandy Jackson said, COVID actually woke me up. Now I'm voting for the first time, Trump 2020. God bless you, Sandy. I think a lot of people did wake up over the last 4 years. A lot of people have seen the light, and then they're countering that with all this crazy stuff. It'll be an interesting election. Someone said Reuters for fact check, they appear biased to me. Yeah, I mean, Reuters and AP, they present themselves as like a non-biased organization, but they're for sure, they have major bias. I mean, almost all news does. They'll say the two different things, but if depending on your political skew, they'll make it look amazing or they'll make it look like horrible and ominous. They got some real wicked people working at these news organizations. Someone said, what about these people who got smushed for doing? Because there's I mean, at the end of the day, there's consequences for everything. You play in the NFL, you get $1 million, you might hurt your brain. You play in the NBA, you make money, you might get a lot of social backlash, you might get hurt. I mean, there's a risk for everything. There's no, there's a risk to being a coward. You have to weigh out what's worth it. Is being a coward more beneficial than being strong? Yeah, something might happen. You know that life is tough. They don't treat revolutionaries well. But at the end of the day, living on your knees, there's the old statement, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. At a certain point, you're going to have to make that decision. Or everyone makes that decision. It's like, to me, I don't know. I couldn't imagine like living on my knees. Like the way that coach just caved, it's cowardly. You know, I can't imagine that feels good, but I don't know. I have to each their own. Let me read this real quick. Larry said, do you think there's a civil war coming or already here? It's a good question, Larry. Similar to how Marcus, I'm going to read that quote because it's so good again, then I'm going to go in on that. Marcus Garvey said, we are going to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery because whilst others might free the body, none but ourselves can free the mind. The man who is not able to develop and use his mind is bound to be a slave of another man who uses his mind. Brilliant quote. But this civil war has been in place, but because of technology, it's the same with like World War I, World War II. They're using all these weapons. World War III is more covert. You know, and it's the same with the Civil War. It's all very covert. So it's already happening. You see riots, you see backlash, but it's a mindset battle. It's a spiritual battle. It's definitely going on. But I think cities are going to decline much further. I think people who understand what cities are doing spiritually and politically are leaving or sticking to themselves and protecting themselves. People who don't realize it are going to get rid of the people who do realize it, who are some of the better people. So, you know, I think it's going to be a wild ride. But we're already in it. And, you know, depending on where you live, who you surround yourself by, what you do, you might not be affected by it at all. And, you know, depending what you do and where you live, you might be affected more severely. But I think it's happening. I just don't think it's going to be how people think it is. But there is going to have to be a moment. Like, this election is so huge because most people who like Trump and conservatives and stuff, they're not that upset for multiple reasons. One, they live somewhere where this stuff's not happening, so they don't care. Or two, they want to get their activism out at the ballot box. So, you know, if depending who wins or loses this election, people are going to act different ways. And, you know, it's definitely going to heat up. But, you know, it is what it is. It's interesting. Life is the best movie out, so you don't have to go to the movie theater and support these hypocrite celebrities anymore. Mona said, let me see. Mona said, what do you say when your friends you've known for years are now wanting you to confess you're a racist? I'm not a racist, but I don't want to be bullied into being woke. That's a good question, Mona. Here's one pro that my life has at this moment. I'll just tell you, because I've been so outspoken for years, at this point, none of my friends really bother me because I've already weeded them out over the last 3 years of like people who are annoying me. It's like, all right, I guess our differences are too much. We got to part our ways. God bless you. So I haven't even seen it because I've been talking out loud for years. So, but like if you keep to yourself and then they push this, I don't know. Are they really your friend if they're calling you a racist? I hear what you're saying though. I've heard problems like intermarital problems. It's nuts what people are dealing with, like work problems. I don't know what to say to that. I mean, I would just, I don't know. I couldn't surround myself by people that treated me that way, but I understand some people have to. But yeah, are they really your friends if that's how they're responding? Send them some videos, send them some good videos or, you know, good takes, but they might never get it. I don't know. I'm at the point where I'm trying to leave these people alone. You know, like I understand people have to buy, but I've been by myself for years. Eventually I'll be with someone, but I'm just like, I'm in no rush to surround myself by people who can't have a political debate without saying racist. But yeah, some people might have to, God bless you, you know, God bless you, but maybe that's not a great friend. Where do you feel like is a safe place to raise kids? I feel like everywhere's going down, Clara. I don't know. I mean, it's a tricky time to be a parent, absolutely. Probably the craziest time to ever be a parent. I can't really tell you. You know, I don't want to be like mislead anybody, but to me, cities are not looking too hot right now, at least like main liberal cities. I have an idea where I want to be personally, but if I was raising a kid, I don't know. I would have to cross that bridge when I got to it. But I would think if you find a nice neighborhood or a nice area, you'll be fine wherever. Just, you know, I don't know. I can't really predict that far. But I'm not very bullish on cities right now, major cities. Erica said, do you think people will ever come together and unify? It's a good question. Here's the unfortunate truth that the left-wing intersectionality and the right-wing pandering that they don't want to talk about, and this is a major problem with what they've been doing in the world. Some will call them globalists with all the refugee resettlement and all these, you know, immigration stuff. The truth is, everybody's not going to get along all the time. Like, maybe we'll get to a point where we figure stuff out, but these are the uncomfortable truths that people like Malcolm X tried to talk about 50 years ago, and they called him racist. Everyone's not going to agree. But the good thing is, we have a huge planet to live on. So what the global elites are trying to do is turn everybody into each other and just mix everybody together and just say you all agree when they don't agree. So it's really actually terrible. Like, you're not going to get Iran to act like America, you know, at this point, or Saudi Arabia doesn't want to be like America. Over time, they might change and get more Americanized. If they want to do that on their own token, it's fine. But that's the great part about the world. You go to Bali, it's Bali. You go to Saudi Arabia, it's Saudi Arabia. You go to Australia, it's Australia. You go to Japan, it's Japan. You go to Nigeria, it's Nigeria. You go to Mexico, it's Mexico. This push to make the entire world exactly the same is gonna divide and conquer 1,000%. So at a certain point in this country, maybe we have to get to the point where we figure out, like, hey, we have a different ideology, and I don't want to do this, but like, we can have like, you guys go here, we'll go here. And I don't want that to happen per se, but at a certain point, in my opinion, if we did a political segregation, and I'm sure the liberals would feel the same way, if we did a political segregation where we said, hey, conservative-minded people can come here. You could be liberal, just don't break the law, you know, obey the law and be a good person and don't trash the streets and don't leave tents and homeless camps everywhere and stuff. You can come here, and then the left wing can do whatever they want to do. I would imagine it would go to shit within like a year. I mean, it's already happening in cities that I've been in. But, you know, maybe that would happen, and we could live peacefully, you know, Black, Hispanic, Asian, Muslim, but people who don't want to trash everything, who don't want to dissolve the police and, you know, over-sexualize children and stuff, maybe that'll have to happen. And in general, people need to stop the wicked media because they're trying to just destabilize the whole world. And it's, you know, the differences are a beautiful thing. That's my issue with, you know, all this stuff. Everyone's culture is beautiful. Japan is beautiful. America's beautiful. Mexico's beautiful. You know, Europe is beautiful. South America's beautiful. We don't have to all exactly march to the same tune. And then if we did that in our own country and in the world, then people could decide where they like to live and what culture they like to live. But these, you know, culture vulture media types, they just want to mess up everybody and then act like they're helping. It's very counterproductive. Someone said we've lost compromise. There's a hard line today. We've definitely lost something. I mean, it really is a lot of emotion and manipulation. And the pro is now you have social media. It's a double-edged sword. It's a beautiful thing. You could talk to your friends. You could talk to your family. You could see a bunch of posts. You can communicate. It's a beautiful thing, but it's also a curse. You see all this stuff. You see all these opinions. It's so much to deal with mentally. And also, we're easily controllable because we're in front of a screen. So most problems are pretty easy to solve, but we're so divided emotionally. Like most people who believe something, they've never even seen it. You know, the things that they talk about and march for, they've never even witnessed it in person. They've only gone off of what they've seen on a thing that they saw. So, you know, a lot of this stuff is so easy to get through, but it's really difficult because of how it's set up. There's pros and cons to everything, but we've lost compromise. We've lost reason. We've lost common sense. I mean, you have people who are emotionally just ravaging everything, and that's the problem with politics. People think because you support a certain ideology that it specifically makes you an amazing person. Just because you hate Trump, it's not your identity. These people are going to hell because they're just bugging out because they think just hating him makes them a good person and they should have no accountability. And vice versa, you have right-wingers who think just because they don't like Hillary Clinton, that means that they're right. But that's self-accountability. That's what people are lacking. However, that's why I lean right-wing and libertarian, conservative, because generally conservatives and libertarians, they say they want self-accountability. Not all have it, but they try. The left wing doesn't want self-accountability. They think self-accountability is racist. They think there's nothing that you can control. It's all got to be done. There's a reason that you see these cities. I mean, San Francisco used to be one of the cleanest cities in the world. It's disgusting because these people don't have the common sense and strength to realize when to put your foot down. You know, you could do this, but not this. This community is going to be this way. They just let it decline and make excuses for it, and that's why I want no part of it. But to each their own. Bradley said, let's do a poll who did 9/11. No, you're going to get me in trouble. We're not doing that poll now, but people can do it. Someone said, will common sense ever make a comeback? I don't know. Maybe not. But I think in general, too, and this is what they don't want to, like, I've been listening to, I want to do a video of it, but there's a lot of profane content. It's a rapper named Kevin Gates and Lil Wayne, I've shown you stuff, and Kanye. They understand, just because they're black, they understand that their mindset and their actions carved their life. So Lil Wayne always says, I don't believe in racism. He lives that type of mindset, and he doesn't get it because he treats people with respect. Kevin Gates admitted, you know, he's a multiple felon. He said, when I was being disrespectful and wilding, I was getting in trouble all the time. I got my ass beat by the cops. And he said, once I stopped doing that, they like me. You know, even though he's got teardrops on his face, he gets that his life crafts what he does. And that's the same with everybody. You don't have to be Lil Wayne or Kevin Gates. It's us. If you craft your life a certain way, you can carve out certain things. And to be honest, you can move to certain areas, surround yourself in certain neighborhoods. Of course, it takes money to get to certain places, but in general, there's a huge country, there's a huge world here, And if you make the right moves, you know, eventually your path will lead you to somewhere right. That's why self-accountability is so big, because it's like, you know, Michael Jordan could have been a crackhead. You know, Ben Carson could have been, you know, in jail. Like, I don't know. Trump could have never ran for president. Like, you can change your life based on the decisions you make. And, you know, if you put a certain power into your mind, you can get somewhere. Someone said Lupe Fiasco seems to be like the same type of guy. Yeah, Lupe's a smart person, and you know, seems like a nice guy, you know, in his personal life. If you treat people nicely, depending where you live, it's probably okay. But certain areas are worse than others. I don't know. What Matt said, when are you going to get into politics? People ask this every time. I'm not interested in politics. I'm not interested in lawyers and legislation. That's the trap. The reason the politicians are so bad is because our culture has declined so much. The reason the entertainment industry is so bad is because we support it. So, you know, Andrew Breitbart said, you know, culture is upstream from politics, or something like that. So shifting the culture, media, you know, music, stuff like that can be more important than politicians, you know. Cardi B could probably win mayor of New York City. So, you know, I'm not really interested in politics. I'm more interested in the culture aspect of it. Timothy said, history will self-correct itself. Exactly, Timothy. It always does. Look at the history that they teach us. It's probably mostly a lie, to be honest. The same people that lie in mass media are probably lied about history too. But the history that we're taught, you know, it was horrible, and then it got good, and now it's getting weird again. It'll correct itself. It's nothing to worry about. Just act accordingly, you know. Brenda, thank you so much. God bless you. Barb said 75% of politicians are lawyers. Yeah, it's law. I mean, that's what they're doing. It's like sneaky lawyer stuff. So I would have to, if I really wanted to be a politician in my like 40s or something, I'll go to law school, or I'll learn how to be a lawyer first, because you don't want to go into, no offense, but you don't want to go into Washington like Alexandria Ocasio. You can, and then she has people who help her. You know, then you just hire people who are lawyers, I guess. I could just hire, but I would like to know it myself. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate you. Joseph said, everyone should watch Not Black Enough on Amazon. It's a sad documentary, crazy good watch. You heard it here first, folks. Someone said they're about to lock us back down over spike numbers again. Possibly. Someone said Gone with the Wind is a good movie. I've never seen it. Someone said I listen to Mac Miller. He's a good artist. Caitlin said self-entitlement is the downfall of this generation. No, it is true. I think self-entitlement, lack of self-awareness. I'll play this clip real quick, because it's truly a phenomenal clip. I've probably played it before, but you know, to me, this, like, if everyone thought like this, we could get rid of stuff. But because we don't, here I'll show you, because I'll try to show the video.
You're gonna relegate.
You know, this is like a very famous thing, but I think this mindset is just superior.
Black History Month you find ridiculous. Why? You're gonna relegate Black History to a month? Oh, come on. What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month? Well, come on, tell me.
Well, I'm Jewish.
Okay, which month is Jewish History Month?
There isn't one.
Oh, why not?
Yeah.
Do you want one?
No.
I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man. Stop calling me a black man.
It's phenomenal. I don't know if he still feels that way, but, you know, he's like, just stop talking about it. And that's what they don't want to do. They pressure people into talking about it, but then they pressure people into agreeing with them. They're like, talk about it. Okay, and then I talk about it. Oh, no, you don't want me to talk about it. You want me to agree with you. They're bullies. And they fuel racism. I mean, everything that they say they're not doing, they're doing. They're discriminating No one should discriminate based on ethnicity. If, you know, a guy that's extremely dark comes in and is better for the job, you should hire him over the pale guy. That's love. That's America. They don't do that, guys. The Democratic Party is now installing, and these liberal institutions are saying, we're only hiring Black and Latinx. That's racism. That is systemic racism. 60% of the population now is not allowed to, you know, work and have access to everything. It's like, just hire the best people. But this is what they've done to these communities and in general the country. They've degenerated us. So they lower the bar. And this is the point that Candace was trying to make. And, you know, she actually hit me up today because I've been supporting her, and not for any reason other than I just think she's right. And a lot of conservatives are being irrational about it, but they're getting all mad at her. I'm like, you missed the whole point. Even Dave Chappelle lied about her. I mean, I love Dave Chappelle, but Dave Chappelle talked about Candace in his skit, and he was totally wrong. I'm sorry. She's trying to say they lower the common denominator. They want to lower the bar of the Black community. They've lowered the bar of America, of white America as well. They want to keep lowering the bar and act like you're helping them, and then you try to raise the bar, and then they say you're racist, or they say George Floyd. It's like, she's not just talking about George. She's talking about in general. She's just using this moment as a chance to talk about that, because that's what everyone's talking about. They want to bully you into agreeing, but that's what they do. They keep lowering the bar of our communities, and then you just say, hey, stop talking about it, or just let me be me. They don't want you to be. They want you to be worse and lower and weaker, and then claim that they're somehow helping you. They've degenerated our culture so much. Like, you look at some of these people in the Chaz zone, and it's like self-righteous, completely delusional, dirty, destroying, setting things on fire. It's like, it's gross. Like, who wants to live there? And it's not a wealth thing. That's another lie. Having more money absolutely makes life easier if you handle it right. No question. I didn't have that much growing up, but my mom made it a priority to get me around places where there were good schools and get me around places that weren't dangerous. She worked hard to do that, and that was her decision. However, even without money, there doesn't have to be rampant crime or murder. It's not true. I've also been to areas that are super, you know, the average income is very low. But if you have a community of people who don't kill each other, then that's your culture. It's not, you don't have to do that. There's also very poor countries that don't do that. So they brainwashed us into thinking this is our culture. This is why I never capitulated in the rap industry. They said, Anomaly, rap about this and this. And I was looking at that. I'm like, that's not my culture. Even when I was the most degenerate I've ever been, drinking, smoking, whatever, I still didn't think that was good, what they were saying. They brainwash people into thinking that's their culture, and then they make it your culture, and then they call you a bad name if you don't agree with the culture that they just subverted you under. It's such a sneaky, deceptive trap. If you look at suburban kids in the 80s and 90s, they didn't act like that. And then you bring in rap, and listen, I love rap. I love gangster rap. I love, you know, real rap. I like Nas, Damian Marley. I like it all. I'm a connoisseur. However, you look at what the culture did to people, it turned them into degenerates. Not everybody, but at a certain point, you're just lowering the standard of what the average person thinks is acceptable. And this is not organic. You look at the record executives who pushed this stuff and facilitated it. This is not organic. There's record. I have a video. I won't even play it, but there's videos of people being like, they meet and talk to entertainers, athletes, and they meet and talk about how they're going to shift culture and community and society. This isn't random. It's only random. I'm going to read the Marcus Garvey quote again. It's only random if you don't think about it. And if you don't think about it, someone else will think about it for you. Marcus Garvey said, we're going to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery because whilst others might free our body, none but ourselves can free the mind. The man who is not able to develop and use his mind is bound to be the slave of another man who uses his mind. Brilliant quote. Completely true. Mick Halker said, we'll have a little discussion about it, brother. Mick said, I agree with you 80% of the time, but there's racism in our police. It's worse than you think. God bless you, Mick. I'd imagine, and I've heard from other police officers, I'll say two things. One, I've heard that's true, and I appreciate you not agreeing with everything it's saying. You know, everybody should be different. But I've heard from people that there are police that are legitimately like wicked and racist and not good people, and there's unions and things in place to keep police in place. And that's what Trump was even talking about today in his speech. These things exist in there's wicked people in every career that you can't get rid of because they make it impossible to get rid of. They'll call you this, they'll call you that. They have every protection under the sun. You can't just fire people anymore. Now it's LGBT. They could say, you know, every trans LGBT activist on the planet, you fire them for being a crappy employee. Now they can cry to the Supreme Court and say that you discriminated against them. This is not helping, all this stuff that they're passing. So I will give it to you. I absolutely think there's wicked police. But here's the thing. If you look at crime statistics, 6 to 12% of the population is committing about half the murders. So when it comes to, you know, racially profiling, I don't agree with it. If you're innocent, they shouldn't deal with it. But this idea that they think that, you know, the black community is doing more of certain things is not a hallucination that they're having. It's a reality that they have to deal with every day. I heard from my buddy, you know, he said, I know somebody who's a racist cop in the south side of Chicago. And I said two things, same thing I'm saying to you. One, I could absolutely imagine that there are terrible, horrible, wicked cops there. But also, if you're a cop on the south side of Chicago, even if you're black for 20 years, and it's a war zone, and you're watching 10, 20 people get murdered every month, 30, 40, 50 people, you might start feeling a certain way. I'm not justifying it, but you get what I'm saying? There's two things in play. Too many protections for wicked and bad police, but also the crime statistics don't lie. I mean, there's a massive, you know, disproportionate amount of crime happening for certain ethnicities, and it's just a fact. We could talk about why, but we can't talk about why, because if you even mention it's true, they'll block the discussion. And this is the trap. Guys, if you really care about black lives, go, you know, I've been into cities where people and kids die all the time. I've gone to Watts to do like mentorship with children before, and in the school, there's just death. Like normal schools have pictures that kids drew. In Watts, they have pictures of kids who've died because so many kids have died in their young age. They're not dying from police, guys. They're dying from black on black crime most of the time, if not all of the time. So, you know, it's a reality that they don't want to talk about. Their scapegoating of all police and all crime is a way to not talk about the COVID shutdown, the pharmacy industry, the military-industrial complex, the food that they're pumping into our kids, the lifestyles, and also, you know, white-collar crime at the highest levels from banking and media to, you know, institutions like Harvard and the NIH that are having people arrested because they're working with foreign governments. That's not on the news. It's all a cover-up for the real crises that are hurting not only those communities but our whole country. So I hear what you're saying, but it's a double-sided door. Someone said fatherless in the community is an issue too. Absolutely. And this is the destabilization program. And I think I'm not blaming white America, but I think this is karma in a way for people not caring about this for a long time. What they did to the black community, they're now doing to the white community. They're splitting people up. They're pushing the separation of the man and woman, the father and the mother, and they're leaving you. And that when you have a kid, it's just more vulnerable. It doesn't mean that you can't raise your kid, right? I had mostly a single parent, and I'm fine. However, if you separate a man from the woman's more vulnerable. If you separate the man, woman from the kid's more vulnerable. They want you to be more vulnerable. So they did it to the black community, and then now they're doing it to all of America through their media, through their music, through their lifestyles, through their press, through the celebrities. They're pushing for that destabilization. So it's not only, it is a massive problem in the black community, but now it's becoming a massive problem in the white community. And that's what Chappelle talked about in his last stand-up. Not this one. I thought it was not very good and a little too emotional for me. But his last one, he's talking about, you know, they brought drugs into the black community, and now they're bringing drugs into the white community. And you can see the results. A lot of unnecessary deaths. Never gets talked about. Someone said Terrence Williams has a Facebook about children that have died. No one protested for them. No, these groups are not organic. That's why I agree with Liz Wheeler. They're front groups for Democratic Party progressive causes and LGBT activism, but even at the end of the day, I'm not trying to be overly conspiratorial, but if you think about procreation, what makes another baby? A man and a woman creates a child. I don't care what your sexual orientation is. That's just how the world works. A man and a woman creates a baby. They don't want more babies, guys. They actively tell you how much they want to lower the population. So this LGBT activism, you might think it's sexual liberation, but for these people, it's population control. For these people, it's destabilization of the family. So they'll use you. It's just like, yeah, Black Lives Matter, but that doesn't mean that Black Lives Matter is the solution for Black America. It's the same with the LGBT movement. They just hijacked George Floyd's death. Was George Floyd a big LGBT activist? Is that what he cared about? Because they just turned the Black Lives Matter protests into black trans rights overnight. And I'm not knocking it, but these people are not thinking from the level of most people. Like, anomaly, that's crazy. They just like black people and gay people. It's like, just like Marcus Garvey said, the man who is not able to develop and use his mind is bound to be the slave of another man who uses his mind. And that's what they're doing. So all these agendas lead to the same area: destabilization, destabilization of the family, destabilization of the normal relationship, destabilization to the point where you can't bear children, destabilization of your community, destabilization of your city, destabilization of your country. And there's a direction they're going. And I used to think it was crazy 2 years ago. I mean, I knew it was kind of true, but I didn't want to believe it until I started really diving and watching videos. These people speak on television and explain basically that they believe that less people should be here. It's not even a theory. And Matthew, exactly. That's why I made that Elon video. Elon Musk says we're facing a population collapse. So it's not they lie to you and say it's a consensus. Science is not a popularity contest. Science is not a consensus. If thousands of people before Orville and Wilbur Wright created the plane, people couldn't fly. So if you lived in the 1800s and you said, I can fly like a bird, the scientists would say, no, you can't. That's fake news. We've decided you can't fly. Science is not a consensus. The smartest people, just because you think you don't like Michael Jordan doesn't mean you could beat him in basketball. So science isn't a consensus. It's not a popularity contest. It never has been, never will be. They act like it's a consensus. Population control is a consensus. No, it's not. It's just the world's most wicked people want to lower the population. But there could, like Elon Musk says, he's a very smart guy. He says population collapse is a problem. But they know this, guys. They're not stupid. They're going to tell you that they're stopping climate change or saving Black America. They know exactly what they're doing. They don't want more people here. And they're, quite frankly, you think they're concerned with population collapse? They just collapsed the economy. They're purposely collapsing major cities, bragging about it, bailing people out of prison. You think these people don't care? So the Elons are a lot more on point than the Bill Gateses are. Wayne said, this is crazy, man. I'm scared for my son. Wayne, don't be scared. It's all good. Don't be fearful. Just act accordingly. Just be a good father. Act accordingly. It's all good. In times of triumph, here's a positive. Your son will probably be tough. My generation turned out super weak and super soft because we had everything handed to us, or at least everything was easier than it might be. So, your son will probably be a better person for it. But I don't know. That's just a silver lining. Mary said, what are the benefits in population collapse? Well, it depends who you ask. Like you've seen with COVID, less population means less air pollution. So you could see the skies in major cities again because there's less people, less air pollution. That's what they're thinking. But also, I don't know, live in a community with 1,000 people and then live in a community with 100,000 people. I'm sure there's some pros to having less people, but in general, I think the world is pretty big. There's a lot of space. And if the population collapses quickly, there's going to be a major crisis. Similar to COVID-19, if there's a major crisis, things fail. If things fail, people could take advantage of that. So I think they're looking to take advantage and launch a new world that they either have good intentions or bad intentions. I don't know. Maybe they think they're creating a utopia. Maybe they want to enslave people. I can't tell you how they think, but there's been bad people and good people in history. So I don't know what their goal is, but I don't trust these people whatsoever. Someone said less people to control make logistics easier. Yeah, exactly. That's a great one, especially in a AI, controlled, police state type world. Less people is more ideal for these people. Keith said, I can't believe things have gotten this bad, how corrupt things are. It's nuts, but it is really biblical in a way. Like, I don't like to exaggerate. I know a lot of people watch me because I'm trustworthy and I'm accurate, and I try to be as careful with what I say and what I do as possible. However, I really see it this way. These are wicked people, and I mean, they've lost the way, and they're spiraling, and there's nothing they won't do, nothing wicked they won't do, because they've lost all, vision. So I'm not surprised. I'm surprised it happened this quickly, but I'm not really surprised. And there's a real spiritual battle going on. So hopefully, people act right, but also you have to understand, if you separate yourselves, here's what I'm thinking. I've lived in the city for years. I'm still probably going to live somewhere, but I'm going to choose carefully where I live. So if Los Angeles and Seattle and Portland and New York City decide to destroy themselves temporarily, I'm not pumped about it. I love New York City. I grew up on New York City. I'm from near there. But at a certain point, I'm just going to let them create what they think they're creating, destroy themselves, and then, eventually more rational people can come in and hopefully make it better again. But I'm at the point where, I like New York City, I like Los Angeles, I like San Francisco, but it's getting so bad I don't want to be there. And luckily we live in a huge country. I mean, California is the size of huge countries, small countries. Big, Texas is bigger than a lot of countries. The United States is enormous. We're blessed to live in a place where we can move. Even if you live in a small state, it's still pretty big. So, there's a place, even if you don't want to leave the state, you could probably find somewhere that is nicer and around more reasonable people and move there. And that's a little mini win, Jason said, I'm a conservative, but everything you hear is messed up and we can't believe anyone. I could go on and on, but I love what you do. Keep it up, bud. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, it's a lot of nonsense out there. It's unfortunate, but once again, that's the pro and the con. The con is there's so much liars in right-wing media and left-wing media. There's so much deception. There's so much emotion. The pro is I started doing it, and now I'm able to make a living off of it, and because I filled a void that wasn't there. So, if you think about the world in that lens, it can be a beautiful thing. Just fill the void that you want to see, and then also act accordingly. It is getting weird, and I think it's going to get weirder. I mean, at a certain point, there's going to have to be a shift, whether it's biblical, literal, revolution. It's boiling. Someone said earlier, I didn't read it then, but I'll read it now. They said the American melting pot is bubbling over. So it's going to change. It's going to shift. Something will happen. I don't know. Chad said, I'm chilling in a very rural zone. I'll be good here while I watch it go down. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It's like you watch Chaz in Seattle. It's a nightmare. But if you don't live in Seattle, do I really care what they do? I mean, I feel bad for the people there. But at a certain point, like if you live rural or somewhere nice, suburban, at a certain point, you're just like, whatever. I feel bad for the people there. But at the same time, people there are asking for it. I'm not even talking about poverty levels, because some people can't move, but those people vote for these people. These people are voting a majority for this leadership. So at a certain point, you gotta stop supporting that stuff. No matter how much money you have or how accessible you are to leave, you get what you vote for. And in Maxine Waters' district, they vote like 90%, 80% Democrat, and that's what they get. Heather, thank you, Heather. Brenda said, it's better to do your part than complain about those who don't. I feel it. Laura, that was funny. Tracy said, we're in Romans 1 world right now. Trust God. I got to read Romans 1. Lance said, how do you get people to realize the media is lying constantly? Then they will make the wrong decision. We all pay. I don't know. I do my best, but you can't get through to every people. But at a certain point, it becomes wickedness. Like, if you're just casually paying attention and you don't like either party, you'll probably be fine. But I do think, this has been such a wake-up for me this past few years, because it all goes hand in hand. Politics, spirituality, God, you all see it happening, where, I always thought Fox News was the worst. I always didn't like Sean Hannity. I never liked Republicans. I always tended to be more liberal without even knowing it, because that's how society gets you. But once Trump won, the whole world just shifted. And now the people who stray from God, the people who stray from common sense and self-accountability and liking the country, they're spiraling into wickedness, and they're not going to stop spiraling until they get right. And that's a clear trend throughout history. Wicked people who stray from the truth end up getting wicked results. So as long as you separate yourself from these people, I feel bad about what's happening, but I can't lie. I'm not gonna, I don't know. Someone said every place is gonna get bad. To a certain extent, the whole country is going to decline, and no one even in the GOP, they don't really do enough. They don't do that much at all. They're afraid of seeming a certain way, but I don't know. I just can't sit and pout about it. Like, I see the direction things are going, but I'm gonna, enjoy myself as much as I can. Abraham said, I'm ready to secede in the USA. There's gonna be some real discussions that happen over the next couple of years. And they're already happening now, It's gonna happen. Not that specifically, maybe, but we're gonna have to get some realer discussions here. Cinnamon, no problem. Bree said, how do you change it? How do we change these Democrat states that'll affect us all? I can't tell you how to change the current, but I know overall, it's going to have to be a mindset shift of the country. So we'll see what's happening, but I can only do my part, and it just, for me, you see how hard I work, how much I do. I can't change everyone's mind. I can't, and I don't want to specifically, but you can't stress over what you can't control. So, if it's going to go the direction you think it's going to go, you just have to act accordingly and make the most of it. I'm not saying that's good, but you can't stress about it. You can't freak out about it or be afraid of it. That in no way, shape, or form does that make it better. It only kind of just robs you of the time you have right now. We have moments today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, till the end of time. Just make the most of it. Caleb said, addition, I'm going to read this. I feel like it's offensive now to not lean on either side. I'm with rational thinking and good moral. Corruption is corruption. Wrong is wrong, but it's not that simple anymore. People are very mob mentality. I see it on both sides. Obviously, if you're left wing and you don't buy into every left wing thing, these people are psychotic. I would say far worse than the right wing. I'm sorry. The media has people. But if you're super nice and super left wing and you don't want to post a black square or something, these people are bugging out. They're losing it. But also on the right wing, you see the same. I mean, like I said earlier, I've spoke about it even last year. Like, me and Candace, we've had our issues. We've had our differences politically and literally. And, I don't sugarcoat anything or just stick up for anyone. But the last couple months, I think she's been on fire. And I told her that, and I've been supporting her because I think what she's saying is important and unique and true. And she's been getting hounded by conservatives. A lot of conservatives and black conservatives are trying to drag her down. But this is the age-old thing. It's like they're proving her point by doing what she says they're doing. For example, you got black conservatives trying to drag her down, and what she's trying to say is the black community drags each other down. And that's what they're doing on the right wing. So they say, oh, we're not like the liberals, we're different. And they're dragging her down, not for what she did wrong. She's made mistakes. There's things I disagree with. Dragging her down for what she said right, what she's doing correctly. That's a problem on both sides. You have a herd mentality. I talked about it last year. When I talk about other people, I don't go at their character or, I'm not a hater. I really am not. I'm not jealous. I'm not envious. I'm totally not. However, I call out Charlie Kirk and Shapiro a lot, not for any other reason besides I saw what they were doing. The same thing the black conservatives were trying to drag Candace down. They were dragging other right-wingers down for being too far right or having alternate opinions. And I was trying to warn people their alternate opinions were actually more legitimate than their opinions. But that's a common theme people try to drag you down when they can't out-debate you. You don't have to use the words racist, sexist, anti-Semitic, xenophobic, this, that, this, unless you lost the argument. If you can't intellectually explain why they're wrong, you use those words, or you do a straw man argument that they never said to drag them down, to drag that straw man down. This is a common tactic, and it happens on both sides, and it's why accountability really matters. You could say you're right wing, but it's like if you drag your own people down, what are you doing? And same with the left wing. Are you doing it out of righteousness, or are you doing it out of envy and jealousy? You know, I'm at the point now where I make mistakes, but I don't drag people down out of envy or jealousy or any negative feelings. I only call people out when they're just lying. But other people don't do that. The left wing drags each other down, the right wing drags each other down, not out of righteousness. Taking someone down out of righteousness, metaphorically, is a righteous act. Taking someone down because you don't want to seem like a bad person because you're afraid of what they're saying, then you become the censor. Then you become the Google or the Facebook type. People got to check themselves. Eric, I'll answer that in a second. Hold on. Eric said, what do you think about Nick Fuentes? Here's the thing. I like edgy people all over. Before they started dragging Nick down in the conservative movement, he's someone I was talking about. He got banned on YouTube. You know, Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro saying he's such a horrible guy. They took one live stream out of context. He made a, edgy joke, which is messed up. But my thing is, I'm sorry, I'm just not offended by jokes or humor or questioning things. That doesn't bother me. It never will. And he makes points that conservatives don't want to make. I don't agree with everything that he does or what his audience does or says, but the reason that Charlie and Ben don't want him there is because, they're a little too snowflakey around those topics. And he talks about demographics, he talks about foreign relations, and he's funny, honestly. He's like a Milo type character. You don't agree? He's got a good personality, and I think they don't like him, which is fine, but I think he deserves a platform. And to be honest, there's things that I think he's right about that conservatives are wrong about. These GOP types are just too weak, and they're too afraid. I talk about Fuentes and Farrakhan and people get upset, but it's because people on the right drag those types down. They say, oh, they're racist, they're anti-Semitic, they need to go. You become the left. Those words mean nothing to me. If you talk about demographics, you're racist. If you mention Jewish people, you're anti-Semitic. If you don't agree with it's like, no, anti-Semitism and racism, it doesn't mean whatever you want it to mean when you don't want to hear a certain topic about a certain ethnicity. To me, that's annoying. So I appreciate some of the most fringe people because a lot of times they just tend to say things that other people don't say. Does that mean sometimes they're wrong? Sometimes, but with Nick, to me, I would rather listen to him than Charlie Kirk 10 times out of 10 times. He's funnier, he's more interesting, less politically correct, and way more captivating. That's why he gets like 20,000 people on a live stream. So, to each their own, but it's like, it's just how it goes. Same with people like Owen Benjamin. I mean, Owen got deleted, and to be honest, he goes wild over the top sometimes, and it bothers a lot of people. And I don't agree with everything Owen says. He doesn't agree with everything I say, but he's funny. And sometimes when you're all over the place and you're going off on people, a lot of times you get it right, and a lot of times people just don't want to hear certain things, so they call you a racist or a sexist or whatever. And I'm more entertained by that type of approach. They dive deep. They go into topics that people won't talk about. They'll go where people won't go. I find it interesting. I don't need, like, no offense, but I don't need to hear Charlie talk like, politically correct, like GOP Fox News talking points. It's boring. I've heard it all. I get it. Trump passed the First Step Act. It's great. But, sometimes I like to listen to people going off, and I listen to everybody, but I'm not big on people who are just like surface level. I like people who go deeper. Tell me something I don't know. Challenge my ideas. And I don't think when someone challenges your ideas, you should just call them like racist or anti-Semitic right away. To me, that just shuts down discussion. I'm not a fan of that. Someone said I love Owen. He's hilarious. He's one of the funniest people. And it's one of those uncomfortable, like, things where he'll say something and then you'll just be like, you know, it might be right. What do I think about Kaylee M? Is that Trump's press secretary? I think she's doing a great job. She's way better than any other press secretary. No disrespect to the other ones, but I think Kaylee's doing a great job. Much better than everyone else. Gilbert said, I'm starting to think both sides have been working together against us in the 1800s. Yeah, it's nuts. Like when you peel back the layer of who people say they are, I mean, there's a reason that the GOP is not really helping anybody right now. Their states are run better, I think, but overall, you know, there's a lot of co-opted people out there. And even in someone mentioned Christianity, even in religious groups and big institutions, so many people are co-opted. That's why I don't ban or censor people, because if you look at the books that get banned or the people that get banned, it's not the worst people. Guys, it's usually the best people. It's usually the people who say things that other people won't want to say. And the reason they don't want them to say that is because it's usually true or close to home, and they want to deflect blame to another area. You get what I'm saying? So these words mean nothing to me anymore. I will never use the word like racist to shut someone up. Did you say, I hate every person of this ethnicity, I wish they were all gone? That's racist. I hate every person of this religion or this ethnicity, I want them all gone. That's anti-Semitic. If you're just saying something about banking or media or crime statistics, you're not racist or anti-Semitic, you know? And people exaggerate on both sides. The left wing lies about it every day, but so does the right wing. And that's what I said last year. It's like, people are like, no, they are an anti-Semite. No, they are racist. Because what is that word? Like, you're overusing that word. Unless you hate everybody. Malcolm X wanted segregation. He wasn't racist. He just wanted to be left alone with his community, and he wanted to lead them as opposed to a white person leading them. Does that make Malcolm X racist? I don't think he was racist. I don't think he hated white people at all. I just think he was, you know, that's what he wanted to do. Just because someone disagrees with me on something, I just can't stand the people who just call everything racist and anti-Semitic or like sexist or xenophobic or homophobic. It's like, you don't have to like homosexuality. You could be against it. It doesn't mean you're afraid of it. You know, I listen to my one buddy, Andrew Meyer. He's an Orthodox Jew. He debated, what was his name? Michael, or no, what was his name? Hold on, I gotta find it real quick. Oh, E. Michael Jones, who's a Catholic. E. Michael Jones is not pro-LGBT. E. Michael Jones is very critical of Jewish Americans. However, I don't think he's anti-Semitic or homophobic. I just think he's a Catholic, and that's what he believes, and he has reason that he believes it, and he gives it out. If you don't like what he says, you should be like my buddy Andrew Meyer, who's an Orthodox Jew. He doesn't just call E. Michael Jones an anti-Semite. He talks to E. Michael Jones and has a conversation with him, because Andrew's a smart guy and a good guy. You know, there's not, like, people overuse those terms so much. I don't even care about, like, in Israel, if certain people are like, this is my ethnicity, I like my people more, do I think that they're I don't know. Like, I'm not that concerned with, like, people who like their own people or they disagree with, like, sexuality. Like, you're a homophobe because you don't like that? Are you, you know, it's overdone. It's overblown on all sides. You can't say anything. Yeah, it's nuts. But, like, why shouldn't you be allowed to follow your own religion? If you're Jewish and you live in Israel, I don't care that you like your own people more than other people. That doesn't bother me. But vice versa, if you do that, don't complain about other people doing it. Black people say black power and black pride, and we need black-owned businesses. Doesn't bother me. What bothers me is they rig society to do all that, but if you were white and did that, they'd call you a white supremacist and you'd get labeled a terrorist group. How is that fair? It's not fair. And I'm not somebody who does that. People will hear that and say, oh, he wants to do this or that. No, I'll buy from whatever business is good. I buy the best food, whatever I want, the product to whoever makes it better. I don't discriminate, but if people want to, they're welcome to. And if people want to do it, you can't do it and then say this group can't do it, but I can do it. That's what we're dealing with here, guys, on both wings. They all do things that they don't want other people to do. it's exhausting. It's so childish, and it's so, you know, my friends are just like total non-snowflakes. Someone said, you ever talk to Tommy Lauren? I have not. I met her once at a podcast, like waiting in the waiting room, but I've never talked to her. Someone said, debate is healthy. People will not change if you don't speak it. 1,000%. And honesty breeds a better society. Like, you know, if I were to say certain things, people, I mean, I do it. There's people I've been told in conservative circles, they're going around telling people Anomaly's anti-Semitic, Anomaly's anti-Semitic, Anomaly's alt-right. It's not even remotely true. If you've ever listened to me, it's not even remotely true. I could say the same thing at my Jewish friend's house with my buddy who's 100% Jewish, and he laughs hysterically, or he says, you're right, or we talk about it. So it's like people that aren't even Jewish call me an anti-Semite, and then my Jewish friend laughs because he's not a liar or a snowflake. So it's like this tribalism is annoying when you can't, if you're going to be tribal, but just do it and let other people do it. Don't be tribal and then say other people can't be tribal and you can't say that word, but I could say this word. These are the biggest hypocrites on the planet. And I don't like, people ask me the other time, they're like, what do your black friends think about what you're doing? They all don't care. And the ones that do, they unfollow or they're not really my friends. I've had, you know, I make good friends, so I make smart friends, you know? So when I say something, they usually like it. Because that's how I choose my friends, whether they're Jewish or black or white or Asian. It's like I don't choose people based on their race or my race. I choose them based on who they are, and I'm pretty good at it. So I've surrounded myself by people who are pretty reasonable. And if they weren't, then they probably wouldn't be my friend. It's like, it's really that simple. And that's the trick of what I just told you now. That's why the GOP loses, because they play this, I'm not as politically correct, but I'm kind of politically correct. Let's get rid of Owen Benjamin and Fuentes because they're not us. It's like, dude, Owen and Nick are funnier than all of those other guys. I'm sorry. They're much funnier, much more entertaining, much more hard-hitting, much more unique, doing different things. Like, not all the time, but it's like, I don't know. If you want to be better than somebody, just be better than them. I don't like the whole cancel culture. I don't need to drag other people down or take them off YouTube in order to shine. I do hundreds of videos and I don't talk about anybody. And then I have live streams and I weigh in, but it's like, I'm so tired of both parties, like dragging everyone down. They're always dragging the people down who just stray. You know, the nail that sticks out gets hammered back down. Someone said, most of the people I know, you can't talk about any of this. Yeah, you gotta find different people. I don't know. Like, you gotta find better people to hang around, I guess. I don't know. Bree said, being told you have white privilege. I mean, you just gotta, I mean, the people who use, I get it. I've talked to people that I know that get hounded with this stuff, but, you know, just defend yourself. There's female privilege to certain things. Female privilege is being able to get drinks at certain places and have people, you know, bow to you because you look good. Male privilege is, you know, being stronger and being more physical than a lot of women. And then there's black privilege to, you might get hired for a certain job because they're looking for your ethnicity. And then there's white privilege where you might have this. There's privileges to every ethnicity. There's privileges to every gender. My biggest privilege growing up was my mom giving a shit about me. If my mom didn't give a shit about me, I could have been anywhere. It wasn't the fact that I'm, you know, mostly white and part Puerto Rican. It's the fact that my mom actually cared. That was my privilege. My mom could have been white trash and I would be somewhere worse, you know? So that word is overused. They lie about it. The people who push it. That's why I hit back against like Mark Cuban. People get mad when I say this. I talk about white liberals all the time. I make fun of white liberals. But then I have a Jewish billionaire, Mark Cuban, talking about white privilege. It's like, bro, you have more than enough privilege in your ethnicity. You don't have to blame the white working class for your blessings. You know, the hypocrisy really annoys me. And then people say, oh my, I'm like, how come I could talk about white liberals 1,000 times? Say one crime statistic or mention another ethnicity and people freak out. It's not fair. But that's the trap. That's why I go against the grain. Because they want you to think that that's normal. They can call you white privilege. They can do this. They can be tribal. You can't do it. They can support their own, but you can't. That's the whole trap to it. And if you accept it, it becomes a reality. Once you reject it, it's not your reality anymore. I don't care what people call me. I don't care what they lie about me. I don't care how they perceive it. They're not honest, and they could never do what I do, so who cares? You know, I'm sure they watch, you know, SpongeBob and do other things I don't do. It's like, who cares? Someone said they want us to feel guilty for being born. Yeah, for sure. And there's no reason to play along with it, because you'll never win until you realize what they're doing. If you leave, they'll say you're racist. If you stay and try to help, they'll say you're racist. If you exist, they'll say you're racist. If you do that, they're not operating in logic. They're trying to shift all the world's blame onto you and take zero accountability with their own ethnicity or whoever they're operating under. So just don't put up with it, you know? That's the key. I mean, I understand it's not easy in certain social situations, but I could care less how many people lie about me. It's like, you know, Anomaly said this, so he must hate these people. What? Do you think I hate white people? When I make fun of white liberals or white millionaires, do you think no one accuses me of hating white people. I mean, I have been accused of that actually, but you know, it's like, so I say another ethnicity and I automatically hate them because I said one thing. Like, the only way you could talk about any ethnicity is just like, I love everyone of that ethnicity. It's like, no, I like who I like, and I don't like who I don't like. I like good people. I like good Jewish people. I like good black people. I like good white people, but I don't like all white people. There's millions of white people that I probably wouldn't want to be in the same room with. So why would that not translate to other ethnicities as well? Thank you, Jeffrey. Have I heard about Cash Lee Kelly? I have not. Gabriel said it's about power, not equality. Yeah, they don't want equality. They want power. And they want to destroy, like on a spiritual and statistic level, they're trying to destroy you guys. They'll say that this is like a far-right conspiracy, but look at what they're doing. Look at how they're doing it. They want to like eradicate you. They don't want you to exist. They want you to bend over. They don't want you to work here. They don't want you to do this. They don't want you to do that. The people doing it are more than privileged enough, guys. They're not suffering from a lack of privilege at the high levels of this stuff. They're trying to scapegoat you and your entire ethnicity or race or skin tone for all of the things that they're doing. So reject it immediately. Don't play this game, because they're trying to wear you out over time and lower you and lower you and lower you and then treat you like dirt. They already do it. They're trying to make you a minority and then treat you like a minority. Look how South African farmers are getting treated in South Africa. They'll say it's a conspiracy. It's a fact. So they're trying to do that to America. If you cave to it, it's never going to get easier. That's what people need to understand. It's like, it's not going to get easier to be a conservative. It's not going to get easier to be white. It's only going to get, you have to stand up for yourself now. People say, Anomaly, I have a job. Well, good luck in 10 years. You're not going to have a job because they're not going to let you have a job. And I'm not trying to get over the top, but it's like, cowardice does not solve your problems. People thought waiting, everything I was talking about last year, you know how much backlash I got from people? Anomaly, don't question Trump. Don't call out Trump. We need to win the election. Now look at it. COVID-19, the riots. Guys, these things are inevitable. If you don't understand what's going on and you don't want to look at it because you want to just stay silent for 2 years so your guy wins office, you're going to get the results of ignoring problems that have been boiling up for decades. Claudia said the race game is a trap. It's absolutely a trap. We'll talk about 2 traps of it. First of all, white and black. That's the first trap. There's a big difference in culture. So white, what does that mean? German, Italian, Irish, I get it. You can group everyone together loosely, but your culture, they're stealing your culture from you. If you're Irish, you have a different past than an Italian, than a Christian, or not a Christian, but you know, every other European area. If you're black, there's also a difference. You can see in the Hispanic world, they try to say all Hispanics, guys, go to South America. There's a lot of competition. Mexico, Argentina. I know Mexico's not in South America, but you know what I'm talking about. In the Hispanic world, there's different shades of skin, but there's also different cultures, and they're very competitive. Dominicans, you know, a lot of Dominicans are like, we're not black, we're Dominican, you know? So they're stealing your individual culture from you, and they're grouping you into something that they control. You're black, you come with me. You're white, you treat you like this. No, like what if my grandfather was an indentured servant? I didn't sail over on the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria. You can't blame me for all this stuff, but that's what they're trying to do. So that's the first trap, is stealing your culture from you and identifying you as a group that they can control. And the second one is, absolutely, in America, if we really wanted to make this country a better place as a melting pot of ethnicities, we'd have to cut the divide and say, listen, I don't care if you're Dominican, Hispanic, black, white, whatever. This is the bar we're going to set at, and you don't go below it. That's how you make a good country. You can't just say, bend over backwards for these, and you can't do that. They're degenerating America. The only way to run this country properly with this much diversity would be a Trump way, and he's not even doing it strong enough, or he doesn't have enough power to do it. It's like, that's the only way. The conservative mindset of America. I came from Cuba, America. I came from here, America. I came from Europe. We love our country. Why do you think they burn the flag? Why do you think when you see someone wear an American flag hat and an American flag shirt, you know they're conservative. Liberals don't like the country, guys. Why do you think they're burning down their cities? They're psychos. Not all of them, but they don't like this country. Conservatives do. And that's the only way to make diversity work. So they're robbing you of your culture, putting you in a big puddle that they can just control you by, and then simultaneously not allowing you to break the label of your skin color. It's all a lie. In Africa, there's differences in cultures. Nigerians and, people from Madagascar, they might have similar skin tones, but there's also competition. There's also differences in mindsets in certain areas, in certain communities. So they just give you this label. You're black. Now you do vote for the Democratic Party. You're white. Give up everything and just do this. It's like, it's disgusting. All right, I got like 5 more minutes and I'm going to take off. Chelsea said, I don't know anything but America. Same. It's all we know. Amber said, I wore a Trump hat today. So many dirty looks. Oh, yeah, they've demonized the Trump hat completely. These are very crafty liars. Suzette, I'm going to read this comment. Suzette said, I was the first college graduate in my family and a female. I worked 3 jobs while in no white privilege here. I don't own their narratives. Exactly, Suzette. And all right, I got to take off in a second. But the problem, like we talk about the black community and the problem the white America has is it's too weak. White people have become weak. You have a bunch of self-hating liberals who hate themselves, hate their gender, hate their skin color, hate other people. And then you have conservatives who are too weak to stand up for themselves. When I see someone like Charlie Kirk ban Nick Fuentes or Owen Benjamin, what that shows me is Charlie Kirk is a weak man. He wants to get rid of people who are fighting harder and eradicate them so he can be Mr. Gatekeeper to do nothing. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't stop work visas. He caves on every single issue. He might as well be like, Mitt Romney in a Charlie suit. And I'm not knocking the guy, but it's like the left hates themselves because of their skin color, and the right demonizes any strong leaders. It's like if Malcolm X was alive, I'm not calling them Malcolm X, but it's like, oh, he's too radical, he's too crazy, he's too saying too much. If you think so, then you do you, and then let them do them, and have debates. Don't just try to say you can't come to my events and stuff. The right wing is useless, and the white America is weak. They're weak. I'm sorry. You're going to get worked. It's like, go to Seattle. Who's the warlord? Is some black SoundCloud rapper with guns. Why is he the warlord? Because he's stronger than all the pathetic white kids who are little, like, communist anarchists, like, like tatted up, trying to live their fantasy. So they lose. And it's the same in the conservatives. They're too weak. They're all afraid to say anything. They're like, they just pander every day. We did this for the prison reform. It's like, that's great. I talk about it all the time too. However, at a certain point, you're going to have to make a stand for yourself. But they don't. A lot of these people make deals with the people doing it. But that's for a different day. So don't cave, because you're going to get the future you ask for. And in this country, there's more than enough people to stand up for themselves. But if you have, 1% of your population standing up and 50% of them being liberal and the other 49 being weak conservatives, you're going to get the future you fear, because it's inevitable. I mean, if you stand up for look at what a small percentage of people did. And I'm not saying, I don't justify what they did, But a small percentage of this country just threw a fit and got both parties to capitulate to them. Like Tucker Carlson said, it worked. You know, what message did they just send people? A small percentage threw a fit and got something. We have more than enough people in our politics. We have more than enough people ethnically to stop this nonsense. But if you have 99% of people doing it, they're not going to stop. Why would they? You know? So that's like politically, conservatives are too weak. You know, in my opinion, white people are too weak. You know, in black conservatism, they try to drag Candace down when she says something they don't agree. It's like everybody's problem is themselves. Every community, it's not the liberals, it's not this, it's us, it's you, it's me. You know, like we have to be better. We have to be smarter, we have to be stronger, or else you get worked. God bless you, Debness, thank you. Thank you, Matt. All right, we'll take off then. I'm gonna get some food. All right, God bless you guys. God bless your family. God bless America, and God bless the world. Have a beautiful night. I'll be back with more videos. This will probably stay up for a little bit, and then eventually it'll go on to YouTube and BitChute, where they all go. All live streams go to BitChute for most of them. So my BitChute is bitchute.com/streamrare. My YouTube, you just got to search Anomaly, AN0MALY. And as always, try to get my free email list. Let me see. I'm going to try to post it to the top real quick. Let's see. Did I do it? Okay, I can't do it, but it's stayintouchwithme.com. That's stayintouchwithme.com. Please sign up to that. I'm in the process of moving, and I'm excited. Thank you guys for supporting, especially with the super chats and stuff. Very generous. I'm going to, I won't say splurge, but you have to understand, you know, I haven't had many resources and that much stuff. I'm going to try to get a nice place and a place where I could set up shop and have better microphones, better cameras, and really make better content. I know the content's been good, but we're always leveling up, and I'm trying to get somewhere that I could really set up shop, and that's my move in the next 2 months. I'm going to do that. So I appreciate you guys supporting. It's going to go towards a nice little setup. So in hopefully 2 or 3 months, probably take a few, you'll see everything will change, and it'll be even more professional than it's been. Thank you guys again. Have a good one.